I fly a starship across the universe divide, and when I reach the other side,
Hey there, Saber friends. I'm Space Windu, and this is SABERTALK UK. Welcome. What is going on, everybody? We have a full house here, all UK Saber people. So we have, except for me. So we have me. I'm Anthony Space Windu. We got Absolute Sabers, Sam here. We got Bombarda, Gary from Bespin Custom Props, and we got Andy, Sir Raw Thunderman from FX Sabers Forums. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
I'm good.
Awesome. Like,
Nice
so
to
we
be here.
wanted to do a show
Nice to be
where,
back on the air.
where like all my friends from across the pond are not asleep. So that's this show, SABERTALK UK, and we'll do more of these. This is like the first one where we could pick a time where, like, you know, maybe more people around the world can check it out, because a lot of times my shows are really late over here. Like, I'm on the East Coast of the US, and so a lot of times, like, a lot of people are sleeping because of the time difference. So looking to remedy that with this show.
What time is it on your side of the Atlantic?
What's that?
What time is it on your side of the
It
Atlantic
is
right now?
3 p.m.
Not too bad.
Yeah. So apparently, like, since it's summertime for you and us as well, you have a different time in the summer, which only puts you 5 hours difference than 6 hours difference. Normally, I'm used to like a 6 hour difference, but since it's summer, it's not that different. It's 8 o'clock p.m. for you guys.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. It is. Very, very warm outside still, which is unusual for us.
I don't know where in the island the rest of you are located, but I'm starting to feel the heat wave.
Yeah, I was sitting at the doctor's office this morning, and I saw the news. They were talking about, it was kind of funny that I never see like the weather talking about like another country before, but they were talking all about the UK heat wave and saying that it's going to like last for a couple of days. It's not at its worst yet, but I feel for you guys. That's too hot. Like 100 degrees, 40 Celsius is too hot.
Monday's going to be a fun one.
I'm looking forward to Monday.
I am not. I'm in South Wales, and it is incredibly humid. So the moment it gets hot here, it's not a dry heat. It's a sweat. It's a swamp heat. It's,
Yeah, it's exactly the same up here, north of the border, mate. It's not like when you go to the States, for example, you go to New York or Florida or somewhere, and it's 30 degrees Celsius feels like 30 degrees Celsius. Here, it feels like it's 100 degrees Celsius. It's a really weird sensation. It's strange.
I know.
It's difficult to explain.
Well, I might know something about it because I live in New Jersey, which is like known for like kind of a humid, like swampy type of heat. So maybe I can taste that a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's the same sort of latitude geographically, on the globe.
Yeah.
Like.
It's not pleasant when you're like
random weird fact I know.
We're used to well, first of all, Tony, when you hold a UK edition, you need to talk about weather because that's just one thing that you get here, right? But it's difficult to explain when you get heat over here. It just feels like the end of the earth. Plus, we're Brits. We're never happy with the weather. Right? It's a constant 18 degrees Celsius and cloudy, we're moaning about everything. So,
yeah, I mean, round my part of the world, the moment it hits 12 degrees for the first time in April, everyone's out in shorts.
Yeah, tops off as well. Everyone's got tops off. Yep.
Sun's out, guns out.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
12 degrees on the 1st of April,
Darth Revan is here. What's going on? Darth Revan, Quinlan Noss is here. Hello there. Adam Henshaw is here. Welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
One of my subs, yeah. Great guy.
You are a bold one, Kenobi. Solo Sabers, Jeremy is here. Welcome. Thanks for checking it out tonight or this afternoon here. Titan Gray. Hey, everyone from Big Canada. Welcome. Welcome to Saber Talk UK. Sheena Jacobs, hey, thanks for being here.
Hey, Sheena.
So what are you guys wielding tonight? Did you bring any sabers? Did you bring any sabers to show? I have my my Graflex, which I like to show on Saber Talk, and I put a red enhanced in there tonight.
Oh, nice.
Let's see, like I got it on purple. Let's see what it looks like.
I haven't completed the saber build in. Well, not since the Flash Gun Challenge. So I did start the Golden Saber Challenge after having like no ideas for the whole year and a half of waiting.
I never got a chance to finish the Golden Saber.
I'm working on it. I've the only good thing I can say that came out of the Book of Boba Fett was my Golden Saber design. Because
are you going to talk about the design maybe since like when the contest was going on, we weren't supposed to talk about it, right? But now that the contest is over, what about the Book of Boba Fett like inspired you for that saber? The dark saber?
Din Djarin coming back with his N1 Starfighter.
Really?
Yes. Obviously, the best part of the Book of Boba Fett is the bit without Boba Fett, because
right, they're like those 2 episodes there. Gary, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I think I heard some sound.
Yeah.
Hello.
So I don't know if I heard Gary yet. I'm not sure if the sound is working for him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. Okay, great.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't got a clue what's going on.
Welcome, buddy. Thanks for being here. It's good.
First time I've used the laptop for this and connecting the Bluetooth to it. They're having a fit. How's it going, guys?
Good.
I've been doing this for 2 weeks now for my new job. I hate it, and I quit. I got a better one lined up, so it's all good.
I'm usually the one having technical troubles. Like my computer is like always on the fritz. I'm like doing this on like a 10-year-old computer, but I did order another computer. So like after 10 years, I'm getting another computer. Louise Jameson, hello there. How are we all doing today from Darth Revan? I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Grand. Just surviving.
Yeah.
I was just going to show you all this really, really quick. I took delivery of this today. I'll show you the top half if anyone wants to take a guess of what it is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is it a?
Is it a ray?
It is.
Dark ray! I knew it. Oh my god,
dark ray.
That really? Is crazy. That's a lot of red on that.
This is the LGT one, which, believe it or not, first impressions, I've had it a couple hours. I'm really, really digging it. Really digging it. It's absolutely solid. There's no rattle, no shakes, no nothing. Wow. I'm really, really impressed with it.
That is so sweet. How does the mechanism operate to like click open and click close again? Because it looks like it's solidly closed right now.
Yeah, so you've got two little magnets right in here.
Just magnets.
Oh, nice. They look like perfectly aligned. Yeah.
You get this mechanism down here, obviously, and it snaps shut on a hinge, and you've got this little button to release it.
That's very cool.
You know, so you know what? A lot of people bash LGT stuff, and the quality is getting better. You know, I'm a massive advocate for it because it brings so many more people into the community. I like the high end stuff as well. I've got some high end stuff too, but it was really LGT that brought me back in after like 15 years. So to see them producing something like this at the high standard that it is. Wow, it's great. It's fantastic.
It nice and shiny as well.
Oh, it won't stay that shiny for long. It's it's a bit of a fingerprint magnet, nice and shiny like LGT like it.
But, now, are like LGT sabers that's compatible with like NeoPixel blades that me or you would use normally, or it's a different thing?
No, they're completely compatible with NeoPixel blades. Like I could get a TriStar and use it with this, or a XenoPixel, for example, which is their own kind of proprietary budget NeoPixel soundboard that they make. So I would work with anything CFX. Yeah,
that's a sweet saber.
I bet you've got one that fingerprints more than that, haven't you, Spice?
Yeah. My JSK's got a lot of fingerprints because I got a chrome saber, and that's got a lot of fingerprints. And any saber that I've got, like I have a JQ Anakin from episode 3, and that's chromed, and that's just like, see, I have clammy hands, like my hands are kind of sweaty a lot, so like also the chrome sabers, especially the Graflex, kind of slips out of my hand pretty easy. So I don't swing them too hard.
The Skinny Flex is always one that I try and not handle too much, because you can pick it up for 5 minutes and then you're spending like a half hour cleaning it,
buffing it out. Yeah.
See, that's I kind of like that on everything except brass. Like I hate brass for tarnishing. You just stop looking at it for 5 seconds. Your brass is tarnished. There's nothing you can do to it. I don't know how Greening manages to keep his brass parts so shiny in all his pictures for so long.
Sam Darth Reverend asks, where'd you buy it? Now, do you buy it direct from LGT, or you buy from somebody that like sells LGT saber?
So I deal with Padawan Outpost here in the UK. They're great people. You probably know Saber Dave. He's a bit of a legend in the community. It's basically him and his wife Jasmine, who's Cal from KR. That's his sister. It's their company.
Okay.
So they've just moved into new premises. They've been keep it in the family. Oh yeah, they have been. Well, and the way it came about, to be honest, was, you know, some of you may remember Cal started a number of years ago now selling the little kind of eco sabers about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago maybe.
Yeah, there was something I looked into at the time. That was around about the time I was getting started in the hobby.
Yeah.
So what with JQ from my main provider.
So what happened with that was was his sister Jasmine. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, she lost her job, and Cal was like, "Well, you could make decent money from selling these kind of eco sabers and whatnot, and you need to buy them in, and you need to do certain things, because at the same time there was a scandal going on with another company that I won't mention, and they've kind of quickly turned into, in my opinion, the biggest LGT reseller on the planet, opposed to Dark Wolf, because they are obviously a stakeholder. So I've got a great relationship with them. So anything you want, if you want to get something and you don't want to spend the world, definitely check them out. They stock everything in-house. They're great customer service. They're great with shipping times. They ship worldwide as well. So that's kind of where I get most of my kind of budget stuff.
Fair enough. It was good to have you on to add to the list.
Absolutely. You can never have too many lightsabers, Andy.
Definitely not.
So, have you seen what Cal's doing with his new premises? It's pretty bonkers.
Was he building a warehouse or something?
He bought it was an old fish breeding place. They used to breed koi carp and all sorts of things. So they had all these gigantic fish tubs all in it. He's like, I think he's still renovating it at the moment. He's just finished pulling all the tubs and everything out and started like clearing walls out the way, and he's got so much storage space. It's unbelievable.
Didn't he knock down a wall, and when he knocked down the wall, it was just an absolute avalanche of fish feed that came through it, apparently. He put a post on Facebook, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, it's like, right. Fish feed inside the wall.
Had like half a ton of fish food, and everyone was like, sell it on eBay. You make money from it.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely crazy. I haven't spoken to Cal for a while, actually. It's been quite a while since.
He's a busy guy. Busy,
I think last time I spoke to him, probably 4 or 5 months ago, maybe. I spoke to him.
Is he planning on like using that space as like a retail store?
Yeah, it's all for his Saber store, for storing all of his parts for everything. So he'll basically stock up on massive amounts on things now. Where he didn't have that storage space before to keep as much, now he can order massive amounts in bulk.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll be one place in Europe or the UK at least that won't run out of things. As we know, things tend to run out, don't they?
Yeah.
Is someone running out of things in this community?
Yeah, I was going to say that'd be a change, like for the Saber community to have stock and stuff.
Yeah, usually soundboards, speakers. They seem to be the ones that are always out of stock.
I can buy this now and have it next week.
An impulse buy from what's his name? Darren of JQ Sabers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy a saber. I bought his old solar reflow oven.
His old what?
Oh,
he sold the reflow oven. So, the oven he used to use to solder the TriStar LEDs
together?
to the bases.
Oh.
Except I plan on using it to just start making my own profit. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm never going to run out of them if I can make them myself. And it's all open source and lists of hardware.
And then you could pick the components and make like the highest quality profi there is. Because like sometimes in the like these companies that like print out the profis, like it's like the contacts maybe are almost like tin foil. They're not.
You cut some corners.
You could put like gold contacts on or something.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's like 2 places in the world where you can get things from in that regard, and China's one of them, and Silicon Valley's the other one. One you're paying an immense amount for the parts, the other one you can buy 10,000. It will cost you the same as 100 from Silicon Valley. So that's why everyone goes to China for everything these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, the last time back the other year when I was doing that. I was doing that guitar build. I wanted to make my own guitar pickups, and I needed one part for them that's like tiny transformer laminations to wind the coil together. And I looked high and low for someone somewhere that would sell me some custom transformer laminations in the size I needed. Could not find a single thing. Went on to AliExpress, found one in 5 seconds.
Really?
But
You had to buy how many?
Here's the part.
they were selling them at a very reasonable price of something like 0.05 pence per lamination. But the minimum order was a 20-foot shipping container.
Oh.
Classic.
So you've got the shipping container in your front garden just now, Andy, yeah?
No, I couldn't find a way of negotiating that with my landlord.
Yeah, you could have just asked for a sample of 10 of them, 10,000 or something.
I tried. It was the whole shipping container or nothing.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? Like it's great getting stuff, cheaper from China and from other places and whatnot. But when you need to order that amount, that's ridiculous. Who's gonna unless you need it on an industrial level, right? Who's gonna do that?
Even if you get it on an industrial level, the kind of quality that you get out of those things just isn't good enough for industry anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I what was it? Oh, it was just before the pandemic started. Actually, I was contacted on Facebook via my shop on there to have stuff machined, and it was a machine shop in Taiwan. And when I actually looked into it, the quality of their stuff was really good. Their machines that they're using were absolutely top notch. But then I had a girlfriend from Taiwan, and the quality of their stuff compared to China is a completely different level. It's like, if you see, I was into BMXs as a kid, and if you wanted a BMX back in the 80s, it was like, if it was made in the US, then it was good. So you always wanted the Harrow Freestyler or the Mongoose or the PK Ripper or whatever else it was. But as soon as they started having their bikes made outside of the US because it was cheaper for them and they could still maintain a larger profit, obviously. But none of them make their bikes in the US anymore, any of those companies. They've all been purchased by Chinese companies and owners now. But BMXs that were made in Taiwan, they're just as good as any of the bikes that came out of the US. So, I've got one. I've got a Harrow Blamo from 2000, and it's top notch. And that was a top of the range bike, but it was made in Taiwan and not the US, which was obviously a little bit disappointing. But it's still a good bike, and I've still got it now, and it's like 20 years on since I've got it. So it is a tank. It's designed for a freestyle and vert, so
that's the thing
it's meant
as well,
for the slams.
When you take that same, what you were talking about there, and you apply it to the likes of the Saber community, where does 89 Sabers manufacture all the stuff?
Exactly.
Indonesia or
I think Hong Kong. I think he manufactures in, don't he? So but yeah, I've seen a few flaws in some of the stuff that he's made, like 89 Sabers, but I'm pretty certain that there's a few people using the same manufacturer. When you see 89s and then you compare it to a couple of others, and I'm like, hang about, that looks exactly the same. There's no differences between the two of them. And it's like, I've got to be getting them from the same place. They must be.
There's only a handful of, there's a lot of, obviously, shops and CNC machine shops in China, but there's only really a handful, from what I've gathered, that deal with that sort of thing, and when, for example, LGT's kind of latest runs, you're looking at them, you're going, right, okay, the Dark Ray looks nearly identical to KR's minus this and this. The new Anakin looks identical to 89's, literally identical. You're like, okay, there's definitely some recasting going on here, or possibly even using the same shops.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. The only difference you might get
is they're probably taking Cal's, or getting one of Cal's Sabers and then duplicating it, or measuring it out, or like you said, just flat out using the mold or whatever.
Yeah, I know. Aaron from Solo's Hold, he hates when he designs something to sell, because he knows that people are going to get hold of it and they're going to try and copy certain parts of it, or even do an outright rip-off.
Right, and
his,
like he'll have to do all
sabers.
the R&D on like the Ezra Bridger.
Yeah, exactly.
lightsaber or
It's like,
something.
I can't think who it is, but obviously my Ahsoka Tano Sabers is first run of the from the series, the Clone Wars. He's his first run of those, and I think he's just done a second run of them. When they was done, there was another one that popped up, and I'm like, that looks too close to be not a copy. Just the size, the scale of them, and just the overall look. I think the only difference that I spotted was there was holes drilled through the end of the pommel, whereas Aaron's ones didn't come like that. They come flat, so they look screen accurate. But yes, I suppose that's anything that's good that people know is going to sell. Then they're going to try and manufacture it and rip it off and do it cheaper to make profit, aren't they?
Exactly.
So that's the downside of things. I mean, that's one of the reasons why when I did the JSK run and when I do my Sabers, if I do Saber runs, I don't let other people go near them, and I do a strictly limited number, and they're all stamped as well. So that way people know that if they're looking at one of my Sabers and they see the stamping on it, then they've got one of my ones and it's not from somebody else. Plus, obviously, the more of them that you was to make and put out there, the more chance you have of them actually falling into the wrong hands, rather than just a collector purchasing them, which is why I'd only do them as an installed Saber as well, because the person that's going to buy something to then rip it off, they're not going to buy and pay for an installed Saber. They just want to pay the 200 or the 300 for an empty, and then go away and go, oh, well, that's how it's done, and copy it. So
Yeah.
You can't get away from it though. In this day and age, in the society, in the world that we live in, it happens in every single part of the world, with every single industry. Just with food, with automotive, with engineering. You just see it's all.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
it's unavoidable. That's for sure.
It is. It's completely unavoidable. And I was on Reddit one night, maybe I think it was last year. It was. And there was someone had ripped off a hilt, and they were getting really, really upset about it. And I'm like, dude, you can't do anything about it. Why are you getting so upset about it? Like, is it the right thing to do? Probably not. But I mean, what's the point in getting upset about it?
I think that's the reason. What was that Saber called? Was it Copper Penny or something?
Are you talking about like the like one of the very first Sabers, like custom Sabers, like?
Yeah, it was,
2005.
I can't remember what it's called now, but they actually Aaron and the person that helped to build it from FX, they actually did a run of them, didn't they? In the end, because so many people kept asking for them to do a copy of that original Saber, they ended up doing a run.
It was about 10 years later, but they did the run and actually improved upon the design in certain areas. I think is what they did.
Definitely made it easier to build, because the original one, I mean, Aaron showed me like the original pictures of when they were designing it and building it. I can't remember what the.
I think it was like 150 parts or something like 180
crazy,
parts
but,
or something.
Yeah, but the owner of it, the original one, he's constantly changing it. I think the last changes I see him did was like 2 years ago. He's never happy with, or well, it's not that he's not happy, but he's never finished with it. Every time he posts up on FX Sabers, he's done something else to it and changed something else. Or he's altered the Killer Penny. That's the one. Yeah.
That's what brought me to FX Sabers. Is like that's what introduced me to the custom lightsaber community. When I saw that YouTube video, I think it was like 2000. Whatever it was, 8 or whatever it was. I think it had like a CF5 in it, which around the time that came out was probably around 08 or 09. And that video had come out, and I was blown away by what that saber looked like on video. It had a beautiful green blade, which just glinted off the copper bits like just so well. It was such a great match, and had the latest technology and just was perfect. It just had all the effects, the pulse, everything. It was kind of new at the time.
Yeah, so intricate as well. It's like the amount of detail in it. You're constantly looking at the pictures and going, oh, I didn't notice that before. Or you go back to it. Even now, you can go back to it and go, how did I not spot that? There's like this little groove down the side of it or something. It's just like spotting different things on it. And the crystal chamber, I think he now has the crystal chamber so he can pop it in and out and change the crystals and things in it. It's pretty crazy what he's done to it. Completely reinstalled the last time I heard as well. I think he might have had a prophy or something put in it, but I don't know. It's pretty mad.
The one thing those Disney Sabers have got right is the whole color changing with crystal changing.
Yeah,
I think that's just a really neat feature to have. Just have the color of a specific crystal with a Darkbit reader and just swap them out. The only thing they did right about the whole thing.
That is sweet. I really like that aspect of those Disney Sabers. Darth Revan says, so I just bought my first mall LGT Sabers from Allie, and I'm super excited to get it home. Awesome. That's going to be a sweet... Is it a set of Sabers? Is it like a double mall? Jetstream Sam, what's going on? Welcome. He says, yo, what's up, boys? How y'all doing this evening? Doing really, really good.
Hot.
Doing very well.
Yeah. It's hot in the UK. It's heating up over here in the States as well. Actually, a lot. On that news program I was watching earlier about at the doctor's office, they were showing like the United States, the whole middle of it's over 100 degrees as well, like California as well. Like us in our area got a little bit lucky this July. It's not too bad. Yo, fellas, Sorok Sabers, what is going on, Rob? Rob is watching. Welcome. Brian J. Falzone. So I'm thinking about going with the Star Killer from Saber Theory with a Prophy and a Blade with 20% off. This will be my first Saber purchase. I've been spinning a stick my whole life. Yeah, well, that's how we all started, right? I mean,
pretty much.
Yeah, that's it. Find a random stick in the backyard, and that is whatever lightsaber you want it to be.
Yeah,
for me it was a pair of crushes. I broke my leg just at the time when Phantom Menace came out as a kid, and I went to see it in crutches, and yeah.
Swinging those crutches. I
wasn't a kid.
So imagine going from crutches directly to Prophy with smooth swing. Could you imagine? That's a leap.
Yeah. That'd be pretty crazy. When I was a kid, I used to switch between my stick being a sword and being King Arthur, or being a lightsaber and being Luke Skywalker.
We have Mundo here. He's going to say hello. Let's get Mundo in here. Guaranteed it's hot in Texas. What's going on, Mundo?
How's it going?
Hey, dude.
Is it hot in Texas, Mundo?
Hot over here, man. Hot over here in Texas. Flat of 107 today, man.
Oh. I feel for you guys. Felicia's here. Afternoon, gents. What's going on, Felicia? Welcome.
What up, Felicia? What up? Yeah, guys, I'm still kind of working right now, but I thought I'd come and stop by and say hi. And, just want to thank you guys for everything you guys do. Anthony, thank you for allowing me to come on for a few minutes. And, when I saw that you guys were going to be on today, I was like, I got to say hi, man. I got to represent Texas, And I'm super excited to be seeing you guys up on here. From the UK, super happy, man. Super happy, guys.
It's super weird for me. It's not 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
They get to talk to Mundo live today. They don't have to wait till the next day to see Mundo.
Over here where I'm at, it's 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, we're used to Anthony hitting us up and going, yeah, do you want to be on Saber Talk? Oh, it starts at 1:00 in the morning. He's like, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll be there.
Gary has done it a few times. I don't know if Mundo was on when Gary's been on, but Gary's been on Saber Talk. I think around 3 times.
Something like
Sorok
that. Yeah.
Sabers, Rob says Darth Alice. Did he have the killer penny? I don't think it was Darth Alice. I forget his name. It starts with a C. On FX Sabers, his name starts with a C. I forget who it was.
Was it Darcephalus?
No.
Darcephalus?
Even older name. Has anyone bought anything from Ally Sabers?
Never heard of them. But
I
Not
haven't.
yet. They are another LGT reseller. They're a little bit of an anomaly, really. Anyone who knows me, I'm not the biggest fan of drop shipping. Even though I'm a complete hypocrite because my merch is drop shipped. But the reason being is because obviously we all know what's been going on in the community over the last kind of 2 years or so. Since the rise of YDD and LGT and all these companies, every week it seems you have a bunch of new companies that kind of come in and they're drop shipping. There's no starting capital. They have no idea about lightsabers. They have no idea about the community and different soundboards and whatever else. And some of them, like the vast majority of them, are just quick buck and out, and that's it. They're there for 6 months. Website's gone. If you're having any problems, then you're on your own. Ally Sabers are a bit of an enigma because they do use a drop shipping model, but they do have a good reputation. It's a company I've personally watched over the last kind of year. No company's perfect. No, even KR, who is the top tier regarded by many people, not perfect. But they give a warranty with their sabers. You get all their update files for the likes of the Xenopixel board on there. Decent customer service from what I've been told. I've never personally dealt with them, but I would say go for it. I would put an order in if I was doing that. But I've got Padawan Outpost here in the UK, so I don't really need to use them. It's all the same stuff from LGT. So personally, I would say they're fine from what I've read.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of them, but like I say, new ones seem to be popping up all over the place. So
it's a weekly basis, Gary.
Corbin Das, that's the one. Yeah.
Titan Gray says it's Mundo Friday.
Titan, I'm honored, man. How you doing?
Titan says LGTs are hit or miss. Some sabers are solid, some not so solid. Still a great part of the community. Now, are any LGT sabers do they come to anyone empty and then, for instance, they will install them, or is it like come installed and then you resell the saber?
The vast majority of them come installed. LGT do sell them empty on AliExpress. Pardon me. And then you've got Dark Wolf, Johnny Collado, who he is a stakeholder of LGT. So it's Dark Wolf LGT, and Johnny kind of runs the US side of things, and Damien from Damien Tech runs the kind of Chinese side of the operation. They do sell empty helps. But the vast majority of them are baselit with a little Eco 12 font, Eco Smooth Swing kind of board, which is the cheapest one that they do. Then they have their kind of mid-tier, their Xenopixel, which you'll hear me talk about a lot because I'm a massive advocate for that board. That's one that they developed in-house. It gives you smooth swing. It gives you the ability to actually add sound fonts from the likes of K-Sith and Kyberphonic and Huansith and Grayscale and whatnot. You've got blade styles for it as well, so you can switch between blade styles. It's an updatable board too, so they're constantly pushing out updates for it. So it's a really great entry level for someone who wants NeoPixel. Fantastic. Then you've got their kind of two higher tier. You've got Golden Harvest V3 and then Profi. They're their kind of two highest tier soundboards that they use. So that's kind of really how they set it all out.
I didn't know they had so many options. I'm learning. I'm learning today. I didn't know about all that. I thought they kind of put a Profi in everything. Although recently I've been seeing that there was a Golden Harvest V3 LGTs, but I didn't know there was this their own board. It's like a proprietary board for Xenopixel. I did not know that.
Yeah, the V1 the V1 kind of annoyed quite a few people because the V1 was essentially a Profi board without a micro USB port on it. So it was basically a rip-off of the Profi board. So they, as soon as that came out, it even quickly got redacted. In fact, I've actually got my girlfriend's Saber here.
So it would like never be upgradable, kind of like you'd never be able to pump the latest firmware in there.
So they took something that was open source and made it closed, right? So this is a V1, you know, which you can tell looks like a friggin' Profi board, right?
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
The only difference is the micro USB port should be here, but there's not one. It does have an SD card, but you can't add sound fonts to it. You can replace sound files, but you can't actually physically add new fonts to it. The V2 was something that they... What was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that essentially you'd have to gut it and redo it if you want something else into it. Right? You couldn't, like you said, you couldn't upgrade the Saber even if you really wanted to. I mean, maybe one or two fonts, but that's about it. I mean,
pretty much, yes. The V1, yeah. So in my girlfriend's one, I just went through and replaced a lot of the sound files. So I put a bunch of sound fonts on there for her just by replacing the files within the folders that were already there. But the V2 that they came out with was a bit of a mashup between their V1 and their older Eco NeoPixel option. And the V2 has been a massive hit. It's been a massive, massive hit. Is it the best? No, it's not. It's a budget option that gives you a lot of features that are usually reserved for higher tier soundboards like CFX and Profi and Golden Harvest and whatnot. So it gives people a little taste of what these other kind of higher tiers are all about. It gives you a little bit of flexibility with the ability to add sound fonts. So actually you can go on and just put in another set folder and add as many as you want. You get blade styles, you get some ignition styles. It's updatable as well with the firmware that LGT push out. It's a fantastic entry into the community, you know, and it really, for anyone who wants NeoPixel but they want it at a budget price, a couple $100, there's an option for it. You can, it is now attainable. You no longer have to go and spend, you know, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 to get something that's going to give you NeoPixel and various other features that, you know, these other higher tier boards give you, you know. So I'm a massive advocate for it. Is it the best? No, but I'm a huge advocate for it.
So the LGT, like even that highest level where you get the Profi, that's still in the couple $100 range, or that's in the $600-700 range?
So I'm trying to do my conversions here. Depending on what help you go for, because the LGT have a lot of their own, what they call VHC help. So like this is a VHC help. You can take pommel and grip sections, and you can take the emitter section off, and you can buy a bunch of other designs in different colours and mix and match and make your own design that you want.
A bit like the old NHS.
Oh,
yeah,
kind of like a better version of Disney Saber.
Pretty much, yeah. I've got a video on it on the channel about, you know, making your own Saber and whatnot, and it's for people who like to mess around with stuff and they're not overly technical and they don't have any skills with, you know, a solder or with tools. It is a great product to have, but these ones tend to be a lot cheaper. So you can pick something like this up in Profi for a few $100 easily, very, very easily. When you go into the likes of, you know, the dark grey, which we have, this is a Profi model. So it's 2 cores, both with Profi, so it's 2 installs. I think these are coming in around about $500-600 US.
Not bad. Yeah,
still a good price for
that's
considering.
2 Sabers. I mean,
you know. Yeah. So they offer a wide variety of products and different tiers for various prices. One thing I say about, because I've got such a good relationship with Padawan Outpost, there's something for everyone. You know, and I know a lot of us in the community prefer the higher tier stuff or prefer to do our own stuff, and that's fair enough.
guilty as charged.
Yeah, absolutely, and why not? Absolutely. But we all know how Star Wars has.
It's not a fun lightsaber build unless I've broken out my files and hacked some pipes in half, epoxied something together, and tapped a half dozen things.
Yeah, but that's a work of art. This is.
Yeah.
We all know how Star Wars has exploded again, probably since The Mandalorian. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We got that during the first lockdown, and a lot of people had furlough checks and whatnot, and they were sat at home going, "Oh, what can I buy? What can I get on Amazon today?" Because they didn't have to go anywhere, and I'm guilty of it. I'm pretty sure some of you are too. That's kind of where this all really did explode, And it's like there's for anyone coming in, it's great. I mean, I was originally in the Saber community a long, long time, about 2007. I used to collect all the master replica stuff, and I had a YouTube channel many years ago. And then, I was like 18, 19, and then you go and do what an 18 or a 19-year-old does, and you go, I'm going to sell all this and get lots of money, and I'm going to go partying, and then during lockdown, I started seeing all the TikTok stuff and all that, and it got me back into the community, which is why I love the LGT stuff so much. Because it brought me back, and I've met so many wonderful people because of it. So if it wasn't for that company, I wouldn't be here.
It also sounds cool to even if you make your own custom saber or whatever, to that's only one saber, right? So then you're gonna have a friend over, you're gonna have someone around, like your cousin, and you're gonna be wanting to duel with them. So if you had an LGT on, or two, then you have these sabers that at least you don't mind if something happens, if you kind of scratch one or something.
Exactly.
You can have a duel.
I mean, they are
don't have any sabers like that. My sabers are strictly off limits.
Your sabers are on the highest shelf,
yeah, it's
limits.
Get away!
I actually found my very first light up sabers the other day when I was tidying up. I think they still work, but I would have to get out my bench power supply just to actually show them illuminated, because I'll just
I think Andy did show us the first saber he made on one of the streams. I don't know if that's what you went to grab, Andy, but I know you showed me the first saber you ever made.
Yeah, the stick, three LED torches just threaded together onto a broomstick handle.
It looks legit, It looks like it's like one of the arena sabers that they throw to Anakin.
Yeah,
I like the pommel. If that's a pommel where it's rounded.
Yeah, it was a
door handle.
Yeah, a little cupboard knob.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got 4 of them.
Glued into a bit of broom handle.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But people don't seem to understand that this is where the saber community came from. This is where it was born. People doing stuff like what Andy's doing. I mean, I remember back in 07 and 08, I think, Tony, you were talking about CF5 earlier on. I remember CFX4, or CF4, sorry. And Luxian conversions and stuff like that, and then it's a small... I mean, it's a small forum of a few hundred people.
I remember when I first saw a FX Sabers, and my brother bought the Luke Skywalker one from Return of the Jedi, and it's he ignited it, and the blade went up, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And then when I come across custom sabers on the Google search, it's just like, "Wow, they're so much brighter. What's going on here?" And they was just like a little Luxian that was down in the hill, and I'm like, "How's that?" And then obviously we're into the string blades and everything again now, aren't we?
Now they all look good.
Hey guys, I hate to interrupt. I'm gonna go ahead and get going. We're gonna get my guys going home here pretty soon. So again, Space, thank you for letting me show up for a few minutes. Guys, I am so happy that you've allowed me to be here with you guys. Say hello from Texas, and you guys keep fighting the good fight. Hopefully, we'll talk again soon. Hopefully, I can
Mundo,
be.
have a great rest of the day.
You too. I
Mundo.
I can talk
Bye,
with you guys again soon.
Definitely. Let's do
Mundo
it.
out.
Take
Peace.
care.
Take care, bro.
Later, Mundo.
Yeah, going back to something that was said earlier on about keeping brass clean and copper clean and fingerprints on lightsabers, don't you think it's a little bit of a conundrum? Because
Can't do it.
lightsabers are weapons after all, aren't they?
Yeah, see,
No, they're not really meant to sit on a shelf and look all clean and shiny when it comes down to it. They're supposed to be a battle weapon, aren't they? So
you know when 3D printers started becoming the thing in the community for making chassis and internals and everything, and
yeah,
there was a bit of a pushback against it because there was this idea that it was just press a button, get a magic hunk of plastic out without doing any effort or work, which is bullshit, to be honest. If you have a 3D printer, you know
it's work.
That is.
Well, I designed quite a few chassis for Sabers for people, so, and obviously for the JSKs as well. Did the chassis for those and that competition Saber as well that I done last year. Yeah.
Before I got my hands on a 3D printer, I was kind of on the 3D printer side of things. Like I absolutely wanted things to be, every lightsaber had to be hand machined, a la sloth furnace, and everything gone to the highest levels of precision. And then it kind of dawned on me one day that these are Jedis we're talking about. They're guardians of peace and order in the galaxy. They're not machinists. They're not going to spend 6 months of their Jedi training learning how to operate a lathe and a mill.
Exactly.
the tiny little gold filial parts that hold up their crystal chambers right. They're just, in the Clone Wars they have that Jedi ship.
With the younglings, I was just about to say the same thing. They've got the younglings on it and they choose the Sabers and put them together.
So, has anyone seen the Bad Batch Season 2 trailer?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gunky's back!
Oh yeah.
Single best part of that trailer. Very good trailer for a very good show. Is there's 5 seconds of a little Wookiee Jedi with a green lightsaber, just lighting up his green lightsaber. Just Gunky's back. He survived all the 6.
Is it like a wooden handled lightsaber?
Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful one. Yeah. Cool. This is how I got started in the hobby a little bit, because I was commissioned to make a back in my last year of uni. I wanted to set myself up as a guy who made props. I caught the bug for making random things, and I got commissioned to make some stuff for a couple of student films. And this film was going to be like some sort of media studies project in which a geek couple have an argument and over which kind of modern geekhood is like the best, whether it's like old-fashioned Star Wars Jedi or new Marvel films are the best thing. It was going to be expressed in like this fight that went a little bit crazy with like various tropes of geek and action movies, and at one point they were just going to have a lightsaber duel. So they commissioned me to make these, and then they never paid me.
Oh. Well, they never got them either, right? You took them back.
Yeah.
So those are stunt sabers, and there's no sound in those that they were just going to duel on stage.
Not only there is no sound in them, but there is no batteries in them. The blades in these are those 12-volt LED strips.
Mm-hmm.
So the way to power them was to have a battery pack that goes out to the small DC port on the bottom of the hilt that went up, and like a battery pack with a long lead that went back into everyone's sleeve, into everyone's pocket.
Like the original films. Yeah. It's like the original films with the rotoscopes on the.
Yeah.
So.
They never paid me for my work. The whole lightsaber scene got cut, and I ended up with these as part of my collection.
You ended up with 2 sweet stunt sabers as a result.
Just for the hell of it, just to see if I could get away with it, I made I tried to make
the Lego one,
Star Wars hilt in the same kind of style.
I like it. That is chunky.
All I'm going to say is thank the Lord for lithium-ion batteries.
Yes.
There's some juice in the AA batteries.
I'm actually waiting for someone to make LiPo batteries that fit in lightsabers. Because I don't know if you know about LiPos or not. I mean, I in the lockdown, I got back into radio control cars, and my collection suddenly boomed from a couple of radio control cars to like 40. That's how that's how bored I was. But yeah, they all run where they used to run on lithium, and then they started using NIM. All of the ready to runs all run on LiPo batteries now, and the amount of amps that they supply and like voltage compared to the old lithiums is unbelievable. So that's something that the community needs to look into, is figuring out how we can get some LiPos involved.
I might have something along those lines, actually, just by complete coincidence. You know, Big Clive, the YouTuber.
No.
Who, sorry?
Big Clive. He's a YouTuber, Scottish YouTuber. Does electronics and teardowns of like eBay and AliExpress level Chinese horrifying electronics that will kill you if you accidentally.
Right, okay.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Really cool guy. But one thing he's mentioned lately is, well, these things, the vape pens, right?
Guilty.
What's that?
These things. I don't smoke them myself, but they're everywhere, and I've started taking it. A couple of months ago, I started picking them. I saw one on the street, so I thought I'll pick it up, throw it in the bin. Took it, ended up walking home, forgetting entirely about the bin. I thought, I wonder what's inside one of these. So I hacked it apart.
I've broken one up too to try to see if there's anything in there for greeblies and stuff for a saber.
Tiniest little lithium.
There's a tiny, like, 13400 LiPo cell.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
This is a 18650, and this is a tiny 13400 in comparison.
Yeah. So how does it balance charge though? Because that's the key to LiPo batteries, is they have a balance lead to balance them.
That's the trick. I've ever since I've come across these on the street, I just pick them up because you tell someone that something's disposable, and once it stops working, they just toss it to the side, or it falls down their pockets when they're pissed. And I just ended up collecting them.
There was actually a news article today over here on BBC.
I might have a bit of a problem.
There was a news article today on BBC over here in the UK regarding these very things, and how so they reckon that in the UK alone, 2 of these are being disposed of every 2 seconds, so 1 a second. And the lithium-ion batteries, which is like the key to a lot of modern technology, it's just all going in the trash.
That's pretty much when I found out that they were they were just lipos inside of these, and people were just throwing lipos away. Like, I haven't got a use for them, but I know I'll need them somewhere down the line. And when I need,
I'll tell you what, right? In all seriousness, put them in a tin. Lipos are extremely dangerous. They're not like lithiums. They're not like NIMS. If they discharge, they will blow up. If you leave them charged, they will blow up. They need to be in a storage charge.
I know.
So they're in a state of like 30%. And for, like, obviously, this is for other people that are listening to this as well, that might have lipos that they use for things like soft air guns or radio control cars or whatever. They got to be left in a storage charge, because if they're not, they will puff and then they will go on fire, and if they're near anything that's flammable, that's it. They've got to be kept in a tin.
Interesting about these kinds that come out of the vape pens is that they have 0 protection on them. Like our much loved 18650s have got little protection PCBs on them.
Yeah.
Stop them from over discharging or under discharging or anything. These have got nothing. I mean, it's literally just lead at one end, lead at the other, and they've got an advertised current capacity of 550 milliamps, and they can pull 2 and a bit watts. And I've measured one of these in action with my multimeter, and at peak current it was drawing about 1 amp for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
They just charge them up, and then just sell them for people to puff away at until the charge dies, and then they throw them away because they charge them. They could be rechargeable, which is the tragedy of it all. So a couple of pennies, they could put a USB charger into it, or like a tiny port to refill the e-liquid.
Well, don't know if you guys have seen it, but have you seen any of the videos with people that are vaping and it explodes in their face when they're using them?
I'm going to look those up though now.
It's mental. It's like you see someone sitting there, they'll get their vapor out, they'll just literally put it towards their face and it'll just go bang and explode.
There's a few
and it's like some people have had some really bad injuries and stuff from them as well.
Oh no!
It's absolutely mental when you see one go, and that's just from a little battery like that. So you can imagine this sort of size battery.
These are about the size of a AA battery. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen those lithium-ion rechargeable AA batteries. This is what's inside them, with a bit more. Yeah, this is literally it. So that's what I plan on doing these. I've designed a little protection PCB, and I've got it on order from China. It's still.
It's funny we're talking about batteries. The first time I got a modern lightsaber, and it had the 18650s. I worked in the vape industry for 6 years, so I'm really familiar with these batteries. And I seen it was one of these, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, I hope that's a protected battery, because if it's not, then this could go bang. And sure enough, they are protected ones. But I do see a lot of people out there who I've spoken to about, oh, where can I get new batteries? And like, this is on Reddit and on like Discord and whatnot. And there's a lot of people like, oh, just go to the vape shop. Do not go to your local vape shop to buy batteries for a lightsaber.
They're a different type of battery that's like called IMR. I think it's in the vape systems, right?
Yeah, yes and no. It really depends. There's one particular type and manufacturer that most companies use, which is actually Samsung, believe it or not. So this is actually Samsung, even though it's wrapped for LGT. The Key Power ones, the KR cell, they are Samsung. There's a model called 30Q, which are very, very common. The difference is when they're sold for vape devices, the vape devices have built-in protections and circuitry, so they're not protected. The ones that we use for Sabers, they have, if you unwrap these, as I'm sure most of us have, they have a protection circuit on top and on bottom, positive and negative. And they have essentially a little board in there that keeps this regulated, right? That stops this thing going kaboom. When people are buying unprotected batteries, whether it's flat top or button top, and they're putting them into lightsabers, and it's not a continuous 15 or 20 amp discharge rating, that can be a massive issue. So don't go to vape shops for batteries for lightsabers unless they're protected cells.
Like, how does Makoto get away, you think, like for so many years with the unprotected cells in his sabers? What do you think is some other protection going on? Maybe the board has some protection in there, or because I know he uses unprotected cells. Maybe 8 or 10 sabers passed through my hands of his over the years, and that's one of the things I realized, and I was like, that's different.
It's probably basic Ohm's law, so it's probably the batteries that he's using have got a really high continuous amperage discharge rating on them.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the only thing I could think about.
He kind of knows what he's doing with that sort of stuff, so I reckon he probably figured out the correct batteries to use for it.
Yeah.
Or he's using the batteries within like their safe discharge state.
Yeah, he's probably got some kind of limit set on the board for the amount that it draws, I would have thought.
One of Koto's sabers, but I haven't seen one do anything other than LED strings, right?
I think he just does like string blade type of builds, and so I guess he just has it set up to like whatever works for him, and just kind of the technology isn't changing for him, so he's just doing that over and over.
Mundo was asking a question on there about which is more cost effective for batteries, which brands
right here.
Different brands of batteries.
Like, I guess I stick to ones that I've used before and trusted. So when I like I've used like the Phoenix Power. I've had decent luck with those. The Night Core, I like those. And when I give those to people and their sabers, I always ask them like, "How's that Night Core doing?" And then they tell me, "Oh my God, it was working for 3 hours and stuff." So I'm okay. Like those are good then, I guess. And I like the Keep Powers, and I like the Keep Powers a lot usually. And I used to go for Orbtronic a lot, but those lately they're, I guess the caps are made of a different metal, and they're not so easily solderable anymore. So I've actually been going more toward these batteries like Andy mentioned earlier with the port in them. Like I did a couple sabers with those with like the little USB port in them. If you're kind of clever on how you deal with that, that's kind of cool. And I also like getting a battery, like let's say from the custom saber shop that is already wired, so you don't have to sit there and try to like wire to one of the caps of, you know, positive and negative and have a potential danger there. It's like custom saber shop will take care of it, and usually I think their battery is either a Samsung or a Panasonic, and I've had good luck with the Panasonic.
I always get the pre-wired ones.
I
still, even though it's like the standard thing today is just to have a non-wired battery that you just plug in and out and recharge independently.
I just get whatever Cal's selling at KR Sabers. Just like, Cal, what you got in stock? Oh, look, he's got what I want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when I made my own batteries, like my own packs up and had to wire to them myself, Sanyos are the best ones that I've ever used.
Sanyo's good too. I've used those too, yep.
The red ones. You know, remember I lost my JSK at Star Wars Celebration, didn't I, in 2016? And then I got it back, what was it, 4 years afterwards, it was returned to me. It hadn't been charged in that whole time. I plugged it in, charged it, and it was fine. It just charged straight up, held charge. I was like, wow, that's been dead for 4 years, and those batteries have just come back to life like nothing's happened to them. I was amazed with it. I was like, great, I don't have to strip it down and put a new battery pack in it.
I used to try and use Sanyos in my vapes at work because they would last for days. You know, any time you go into like a shop for new batteries, like what do you have? And as soon as the guy would go, "I've got Sanyos," say no more, my friend. I have two of them. You know, like
they're seriously the quality of them. It's like you just look at a battery, and like normally you just look at a battery and you'd be like, "Oh, it's just a battery." But if you look at a Sanyo battery and you compare it, just in the quality of the material that it's wrapped in, how well that the material's wrapped, the way it's folded over and heat shrunk on. It's like everything's perfect about it. The actual button head and everything on them, it's just like, wow, the quality is totally like next level on them. Pay a little bit more for them, but not much, maybe £1 or £2. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just, if I'm putting it into one of my show sabers, then I'm going to put that in and not have any worries about it. I've had a few from custom saber shop over the years that have packed up. And it's like, well, why have you stopped working? Now I've got to strip my saber down and put a new battery in. And you know it's going to be the battery because it hasn't been used, and then you go to use it and nothing's happening, and it's like, charge it? No, it's dead.
It used to be harder to tell, like in the Sabers, like where there's two batteries with a 7.4 system of, you know, years ago, and when one cell died, it's hard to it was hard, like, or kind of not died, but maybe was weaker or was on its way out, and that was harder to kind of figure out like what was wrong, because the saber would like still work, and then you're like, you have to go testing the battery, which sometimes is embedded inside the saber, to find out. But now when most of us are kind of using one cell, so if there's battery problem, the one cell, you know, it's obvious, whereas like you don't have to decipher like what's going on with whatever battery, you know, dual cell system you're using.
And I never got why the dual cell ones were a thing. I think I came in a little bit too late after their introduction to get the appeal of them. But that's just been.
It was like a lot of the boards at the time just required like the 7.4. So they would just take two 3.7s and wire them for 7.4. And then became a hack. I remember there was the CF 7 or 6 or what you could start doing this, what they called the 3.7 hack, which would turn your a 7.4
yeah, I just about remember that.
Like back to or two 3.7, which was becoming kind of like, you know, more the norm. So then a lot of people were kind of doing that to save space. Like, let's say they wanted that CF inside like a Yoda saber. The only way to do it was to you know, use one cell. So it's called the one cell hack or the 3.7 hack back then. And it kind of when NeoPixel sprouted, and their voltage rating for the NeoPixel, instead of being, you know, requiring 7 volts, it's 5 volts. So a good sort of like compromise when we got to NeoPixel was just to say, okay, well, we're going to use our 4-volt batteries, which is really like the 3.7. As we all know, they kind of produce like 4.2 really. So even though it's really not what the NeoPixel strip really wants, it's like good enough, and everyone just went with it. So
yeah, it's quite weird the way you can't get a 5-volt battery that works like that.
I think when there's a different type of battery chemistry, like you're talking about like the lithium polymers and stuff like that coming more popular, and I know they're like accelerating the technology research on it because of car battery. You know, they're trying to get the best batteries for these cars and everything else in the phones. So we're going to get better batteries soon, and the chemistry is going to change into something else, and also the ratings for the batteries could change at that time too. So instead of like all of us dealing with 3.7 batteries, we might be dealing with 5-volt batteries in 5 years. You know, just because they're going to change the chemistry, everything's going to kind of change. So I don't know if that's going to end up that way.
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible. Yeah. Or they just mimic.
We might get speakers one day that don't blow when you put a profie on them.
I've been getting used to the kind of testing it out, the 31 millimeter speaker, which is on KR's website. They also have one that looks similar to it because it looks different than a regular speaker. It looks like a little subwoofer that you put in your car. You know, you put in like a 10-inch subwoofer in your car. It looks like it's got a big bottom to it and a disc at the top. That's what the speaker looks like. So it's like a little mini subwoofer, 31 millimeter. They have it on the KR store.
Yeah, but Anthony, you're forgetting one thing. Everyone always says when they order a lightsaber, I want it as loud as I can have it.
It's harder to fit the 30.
As loud as it possible.
You're not going to be a very stealth Jedi if it's as loud as you can have it.
Guys, I'm just going to go grab a drink. I'll be right back, all right?
Okay.
Cool.
As loud as you can have it, as cheap as you can have it, and...
Oh, yes, it's always the same thing. And then when you explain to them the prices and how it works, it's like, oh, okay. And then you never hear from them ever again.
Yeah, I had that.
That's the realisation that, I don't know, you can't have everything that you want in life is one of the things you realise from it, I presume. But when I first got into it and I was looking at them, I was like, oh, I'd love to get that lightsaber, and I was looking at Vader's Vault lightsabers and the custom ones they were building, and I really didn't understand the prices of them. When I looked at them, I was like, where comes Saberforge is doing them for that price and Vader's Vault is doing them for this price? It's like, and then you start understanding the difference in the quality, the time and the effort that goes into a custom one as opposed to something that was mass produced on like the other side of the coin. But and then when I started making them myself, I was like, well, I can do what I want to do. I can make the sabers that I want to make and not be limited to only buying what other people are doing. And you start designing it, and then you go to a machinist, or you buy your own mini lathe, and then you've invested in a mini lathe, and then you've invested in a pillar drill, and then you've invested in everything else that you need. Decent soldering iron, like you start off with a cheap soldering iron.
Yeah.
And then that breaks, and you're like, oh god, I knew I should have bought the better one. But yeah, it's just things like adding the electricity on. If like someone orders a custom saber and they want you to machine it and do stuff, you've got to run a lathe. Them lathes use a lot of juice, and then you've got to do the soldering. Soldering irons use a lot of power that they don't take into account your time and then everything else that goes on top of the time.
Right, like
it's not just a simple case of throwing. You know what I mean? You don't just like throw just a few parts together. If you like building a custom saber shop one, then that's fine. But anything that's custom, right? They just all of a sudden get this realization that, well, maybe I should just stick to a custom saber shop and do myself one, and then they usually the first thing that happens is they kill the board because they've got two solder blobs together, and usually the plus and the minus.
Like I had that happen to me the other week when the job I just quit earlier today. I started it. We had a little intro session with on Teams with all my new colleagues, and we all played a silly little intro game, Two Truths and a Lie. Mm-hmm. And we got to tell two truths about yourself and one lie. And I obviously for my truth I went with I'm a Jedi, because that sounds like an obvious lie. And then they said, "Oh, it's Jedi, obviously," and then I just went, "Oh, okay."
They went, "You're lying. Your lightsaber don't work."
Yeah, obviously, oh well, you're a Jedi. That's got to be a lie. Oh, is it? Yeah. Obviously, after that, I had like a couple of people just start messaging me on Facebook like, "Oh, you make lightsabers! Oh, I told my kid that his dad works with someone who makes lightsabers, and he really wants a lightsaber. Can you make me one?" Like, okay, what's your budget?
Yeah.
Like the number
I get the same thing from people at my day job as well. I get exactly the same thing whenever they find out. It's like, "Oh, make me one. Do me one for Christmas." I'm like, "How much money you want to spend?" "No, you can just make it for me." "What do you mean I can just make it for you?" "What are you talking about?"
The guy wanted two Kylo Rens, like all metal scratch built Kylo Rens.
Whoa!
Plus for his 9 and 10-year-old kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Less than 200 apiece.
Chuck Alvarado is here. What's going on, buddy? He says, "I purchased 2 LGT Damien Sabers. Pretty solid. Not as good as CF10, but overall not bad for the price." Titan says LGT does a good job of presetting the clash sensitivity on their boards, and they have good sound font packages pre-installed. That's good to know. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Actually, you saying about the getting a quote for children, the competition saber that I did, that was actually for a 5-year-old. So that parent was like splashed the cash on that one. And that was all obviously it was an original flash gun, which I
well, that was special.
Done the conversion and stuff on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, but he wanted it for his 5-year-old because he had previously done a Obi-Wan New Hope for him from one of Roman's props and built that for him. And then his son kept wanting to play with it. And he's like, "I can't let him use this. It's too heavy. He'll probably drop it on himself and hurt himself or something." And he was like worried he was going to get it dented or something. And he's like, "Oh, I'll commission you to build one for my son as well." And yeah, I was like, "Well, fair enough. If you want to pay that much for a saber for a child, then crack on."
Well, that one was
he loves it.
It's going to be a family heirloom for sure. That saber, I hope.
Yeah, I really didn't want to send it. I really liked that saber because it was so. I don't know. It's just tiny. It's like that big.
It was precious. I never saw a flash gun like that in my life. That was crazy.
I've actually got another one. I've actually got three. I made 3 emitters as well, so that I could do a limited run of them. I just need to pick up a couple more handles and stuff, and then I can actually do a limited run of them.
Nice.
But as with everything, it's pushed to one side at the moment.
You don't have to put them for sale. You could just come to me first. I'll take one. I love that saber. That was nice.
Yeah, cool. Also, you know, obviously.
Go ahead. Sorry, Gary.
No, sorry, man. You go ahead.
Obviously, you know that I've got the Mara Jade coat of Bakura as well that I'll be bringing to the front soon. So that'll be like to be the matching pair with the JSK. So
I love Mara Jade too. She's one of my favorite EU characters.
Yeah,
like one of my top 3, maybe top 2 EU characters, and I love Mara Jade. And the reason I didn't do
her saber first was because it's more complicated. So I had to
it's kind of funny that you're doing the both
Jaina one first.
You're doing the violet sabers from the EU. That must be just a coincidence because there's only like 2, right? And you're doing them both. That's crazy.
Is she not supposed to be coming?
Yeah, well, they're both cool sabers as well, though.
There's a rumor going around that Mara Jade's going to be actually made canon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just never know. They keep bringing back old characters, don't they, from the expanded universe and bringing them in. So
she better become like Luke's wife then. If they just bring her back as somebody else, like bring her in as somebody else, that's like not Luke's wife. That'll be weird.
It won't be Luke's wife. They won't do it.
Yeah.
No chance. They'll bring her in and they'll use her, but they won't make it expanded universe. We've seen it with a couple of the other characters. They didn't do that with them. So
someone deciphered all of the in Kenobi on the wall. They had all the stuff. Someone deciphered that. So Ram
someone's
Kota
got a lot of time on their hands.
Right, tell me about it. Ram Kota from The Force Unleashed. He is now officially been canonized because his name was on that wall. Seer Junda from
nice, but they found his name on there, didn't they?
Sorry, Andy?
Quinlan Voss was on the list. I remember that. But
Quinlan Voss.
That was the first. That was the one that Kenobi puts his hand on the name, isn't it? So.
But someone had far too much time on their hands and deciphered the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Ram Kota, The Force Unleashed, which is an interesting one. And obviously Seer Junda from Fallen Order was obviously on there. So they're paying a lot of attention to video games.
Yeah, they are.
They got Gene Altis and Val Horn as well. Which interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So who knows what they have up their sleeve? Who knows?
When they did the casting for what was it? Mandalorian or something? It might have been Mandalorian. When they did the casting for it to throw people off the scent, I think they did it for episode 7 as well, to throw people off, and everyone got excited because one of the characters that they were calling females up for was Mara Jade. They used that as the code name to not give away Rey's name in it, and everyone was like, "Oh, Mara Jade's going to be in it. These people are going for auditions to play Mara Jade," and it actually wasn't. But then there was the what's the language in Star Wars called?
Arabic.
The type of writing? Arabic. Yeah, there was when Disney opened up Star Wars Land, Star Wars World, whatever you want to call it. They you can actually get an app. There's a Disney app that has Arabic that can do translations for you to turn Arabic into English, because all around Disney in the Star Wars part there's Arabic words on walls and scribbles here and there, and if you use a translator on them it tells you what it says. And someone actually was in a toilet of all places on the back of a door there was Arabic, and someone used the translator and it actually says Mara Jade on the back of the door
for
in
a
Arabic.
good time call.
Yeah. But it's quite weird actually that it was actually in there, and it's like it's a little bit like of a slap in the face at the same time, to like, yeah, we're going to stick her name in the toilets sort of thing in the WC.
I mean, like they're in the time frame of those shows, like Boba Fett. No, wait, not Boba Fett. Oh no, I think I'm wrong, right? Because it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi or something. Okay, so could Mara Jade be there somewhere? But like, she's not. She wouldn't be in control. She wouldn't be under the Emperor's control anymore, because the Emperor would have been thrown off the ledge. So she'd be out there as like the type of assassin who's saying like, I'm gonna go kill Luke Skywalker. That's kind of what she'd be doing, I guess.
I'm trying to think.
The character called Talon Card, yeah.
Right. So
Heir
she'd
to
be
the,
with
Heir
like
to the Empire,
Talon
though,
Karrde.
is literally what, a year afterwards. Heir to the
I
Empire.
think it's supposed to be 5 years after as well.
Is it?
Because it's like Leia's
sure.
pregnant with her twins, and I think they say it's 5 years later. And
Is that Heir to the Empire? I thought that was Truth at Bakura, where she's pregnant.
Heir to the Empire. Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna have to. I haven't read them for so long.
I'm like 99% sure.
20 odd years since I last read
Yeah,
them.
it's been a long time for me too. I started listening to the audiobook. It was kind of hard though. Like I remember these books being super exciting and stuff, but I listened to like the first hour of the Heir to the Empire, and it was hard to get back into the flow of it. It was like they had a lot of like, I don't know, boring stuff at the beginning. It seemed like.
When that first came out, what,
Lot of
90, 91, 92, I think it was?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, new Star Wars books. George Lucas gave the rights to other people to write stories from Star Wars. And I was, when I went and purchased it and I read it, I was like, oh my God, it feels exactly like Star Wars. It's like in the same vein, had the same atmosphere to it reading it. I was just like, no, it's the end. Oh God, how long have I got to wait for the next one? It was like, exactly like being a little kid again, and I was like in my 20s at the time. But
Same
I was
here.
like, wow, that was amazing, and I just fell in love with Mara Jade's character in it. I was like, cool, female that can use a lightsaber and has got the Force. I was like, wow, that's incredible.
You know, I'm so
Yeah,
glad
I
that
absolutely
you,
loved them.
I'm so glad that you said that there, Gary, because like when you said it feels like Star Wars, like I said that about Rogue One, and like every single person that I said that to, they're like, "What do you mean it feels like Star Wars?" I'm like, I don't know. It just feels like Star Wars. Like it felt like that A New Hope era. That kind of it just it gave off an atmosphere for me personally. But like, and you're the first person since that I've ever heard use the phrase "it feels like Star Wars." So
Yeah, so
I'm jumping around inside like yes right now.
yeah.
Because I think it's like those books and like the Rogue One movie, it actually really uses the word expanded, like an expanded universe. Because in those books, every single page, every single thing you learned was more. Like you learned more things. In Rogue One, you saw new ships, you saw different people.
Yeah.
With some of the other movies, they were like recycled. Even if they said, "Oh, this movie takes place 30 years later," well, then why are they all like they're still just have X wings, A wings, and B wings or whatever? Like there's just nothing else, or and all the stuff was so similar. But in those books, like Gary was saying, it was like a new world because there was like, a new planet, like let's say called Wayland, and you're placed on that, and it's like the Emperor's like hiding place where he's hiding technology and secrets, and it's exciting. And then you have these like new characters who were working for the Emperor, but you never knew them until then, and they were doing stuff behind the scenes, and affecting the world that we knew as Star Wars, but they weren't in the story until the books came out, and you're like, oh my God, he's got these assassins. Those people are. Because like I like the idea of that a little better, I think, than the Inquisitors. Like, because the Inquisitors are they're flashy and they're like out there, kind of like almost like outdoing Darth Vader or trying to, because they're in the black outfits and they got the red sabers and stuff. Whereas the Emperor's hands were like they were secretive and they just snuck up on you. They were like ninjas.
That is it. That's exactly it. That's what I couldn't figure out with the Inquisitors when they brought them in Rebels. I was like, hang about, the Jedi were hunted down and killed by Darth Vader. There's not meant to be any Jedi that survived. They didn't get turned. They were all killed. There was no other Force users. What we knew growing up was Ben Kenobi and Luke were the last, obviously, and then when you find out about Yoda as well. And then you've got Darth Vader and the Emperor. There was nothing else spoken about. There wasn't any Inquisitors or anything like that. And this, I don't know, I found it a little bit disjointing when they brought the Inquisitors in. It's sort of, what's this all about? And then obviously I knew about Mara Jade and you knew about the Emperor's Hand, but Darth Vader didn't know about her. These were people that Palpatine had to one side, that if he ever needed them to do something, i.e., I don't know, maybe take out Darth Vader, for instance, if he pushed his luck or tried to take power, then he would have these allies that he could call upon and use, and that's how I saw Mara Jade. So I don't know.
Sense that she
I mean,
was
obviously
like
they have to change and go with the times.
Yeah, it made sense that she was a young girl, because it was like the Emperor found her like as a Force user who was like too young to be a threat, but easy to manipulate. So that's how she ended up being like a little girl. It's like, oh, you know, she's not an adult, because like you said, they would have slaughtered the adult Jedi or the adult Force, Force user if they were a threat. So these little kids that he may have been raising as kind of like, you kind of find out later in the books, I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, that Palpatine didn't send Mara Jade's parents off like with a new car and some money and a vacation. He probably like killed them or whatever. They were probably murdered or something. So it's just this is like backstory stuff that like makes the Emperor more evil when you find this stuff out.
I actually come up with a really good idea for a story on Mara Jade and how she gets her lightsaber as well. It's I was like, oh, that's cool. How did she get a purple lightsaber? I was just kept whizzing around in my head. How did she get a purple lightsaber? And like from what I don't know if it's true or not, but I've got this feeling or I've read somewhere that Palpatine didn't let any of his assassins have lightsabers. I'm not sure whether that's true or not. I can't remember, but I'm sure I've read it somewhere. And I was like, how did she get that? And I come up with this whole storyline where she was being trained, but while she was sleeping, she kept having dreams like something was calling to her. And I basically come up with this story where she one night sneaks out from the training facility and she's following this voice that just keeps calling to her. Eventually she comes to like this alleyway and has to jump down in between like these walls, and she finds a lightsaber, and the lightsaber's Mace Windu's lightsaber, and that's how she gets her purple lightsaber, by using parts from Mace Windu's. Obviously his arm got chopped off, went out the window, didn't it? So that's the story that I came up with. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Now she's got a lightsaber and it's purple. It's Mace Windu's lightsaber that she's using, basically.
I've kind of got a similar headcanon for Luke's green lightsaber, especially now that we know, well, in the old canon it was a synthetic lightsaber crystal, but in the new canon there's still unknown where he got the crystal from. So my headcanon is Obi-Wan kept Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber, and Luke ended up using Qui-Gon's crystal in his second lightsaber.
Yeah, that's
I've also heard the story of like some people think it could have been Yoda's crystal, but I don't know if that's possible.
I've also
wasn't that lightsaber
heard that as well.
lost? Like when Palpatine threw him down, and he's kind of lost his lightsaber there, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's how's Luke got it in the? Because Luke's got Yoda's lightsaber now, hasn't he? So he's like, hang about. In canon, in the comics, you specifically see them throwing Yoda's lightsaber into the pit to be smelted. And it's like, hang about. Now you're saying that Luke Skywalker's got Yoda's lightsaber. Make your minds up, Disney, please.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not the biggest comic book person, but I love the Vader comics.
The pit reappears. I mean, look you throw a graphic down a pit in Bespin, and suddenly it's on some random Force castles.
See, this is the thing. This is the other thing as well. What a lot of people don't realise. If you go back to that episode of the Clone Wars where the younglings are on the ship and they build their first lightsabers, you get a projection, 3D projection that pops up like a hologram with all the different lightsaber types on it that they can build. And there's Obi-Wan's on there, there's Anakin's ones on there. Yoda's lightsaber would not have been the only lightsaber that was that design. Just like the others would have used lightsabers. I mean, you see them, they give them specific characters' names in the films, but other Jedi could have built and used the same lightsabers. We've just never seen that because they characterised them as a saber for that particular person, like they were something more special than the rest of the Jedi, which they weren't. They were Jedi. No one Jedi is more special than another Jedi, so they would have all used the same parts, all the same tools. The only part that would have been different would have been the crystal, if you go by canon, I suppose, because obviously they go to those the planets where they go to collect their crystals in the caves, and
the vintage
that's part of their ritual.
lightsaber or the vintage Graflex market on eBay on Coruscant is hot. You think it's expensive here on Earth?
You've seen
right.
That you've seen that.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them ones. Real vintage Anakin Skywalker lightsaber. Someone comes along. Oh wow, this was Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber. He buys it. Goes, right, thank you very much. And puts another one out. A real vintage Anakin Skywalker lightsaber.
A bit of red here. See this little bit of red here? That's authentic youngling blood, that is.
Authentic youngling blood. Oh, man. I mean, you see that in...
It's authentic youngling blood, this.
You see it in episode 2, didn't you? In the Colosseum, in the arena fight, a lot of the Jedi, they were just like, these clan helps. They all looked the same.
Yeah.
Some of them, like, there was... whose was it?
It's like Kit
the Luminaras
and Luminaras look the same, don't they? Like
yeah,
kind of like reversed a bit or something. Like one's upside down.
Yeah, they switched the positions of the pommels and the grip section and stuff on them. But yeah, there's a few of them that are what they call, as he says, clan sabers.
Like at the Galaxy's Edge, when you're at that Savi's workshop, what the parts should be are like the parts like Luminara's pommel, Anakin's Graflex clamp, Luke's emitter, Qui-Gon's body of the saber, Obi-Wan's pommel. It should be the legit parts from, like you said, Gary, because they're all like many Jedi could have a similar looking hilt, and those parts should be interchanged. But they kind of just like made up all new stuff, and it's not really movie related in the Savi's workshop.
Yeah,
one that I had to laugh at recently was the Plo Koon one that they've put out on Doc Ondars.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at it like that's Mace Windu's from episode 1. Before he got the
like his episode 2 version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Episode 2 and 3 was the one he had, obviously the purple blade. The episode 1 was different. It was still a purple blade, but it was like silver, and it had the kind of the Darth Maul style reversed kind of emitter at the bottom and whatnot.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And everyone's running around going, "Oh, it's Pluto." No, it's not. That was never seen. That was never made canon. That was never seen. And now they're making it canon by having it as something in Doc Ondars, but it was Mace Windu's. I had to laugh at it. Yeah. I mean, that's just, I don't know, the nerd in me, but I just had to laugh. I had to afford myself a little chuckle to that one.
I'm not a massive fan of the Galaxy's Edge designs, but I did like the fact that all the custom lightsaber parts you find in Jedi Fallen Order are the Galaxy's Edge parts. I thought that was a nice piece of marketing integration.
Oh, they do have like the Galaxy's Edge parts in the game, because I thought the parts in the game look pretty cool for sure. Yeah. They're like slimmer than the Galaxy's Edge designs. I think they're in the character's hand in the game they look like they're normal sized.
I think they're only about 10% into that game.
I mean, I'm bad at it. Like when I was a kid, I think I was good at games. I am bad at these games. Like I feel like I'm doing the board over and over, and I can't find my way out of the board, and I'm running around the board for 3 hours. Like everybody's dead. What else do I do here?
Yeah, I'm like that playing Lego Star Wars.
Lego Star Wars.
Oh, I love that game.
That's so much fun.
I still have not got the Star Wars up yet. It's on my Steam wish list.
Oh, Andy, do it, man! As soon as you can do it, it's great fun.
I know. I'm waiting for a decent sale. Budget's a bit.
Look at us, lot, right? Look at how old we are, and we're talking about playing Lego Star Wars.
Yo, Gary, calm down, man. Speak for yourself. I'm only 32. I can still get away with it, all right?
Anytime you could take out the lightsaber and put it back in the video game, I was all in.
I'm not doing all this time next month. I'm good.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'll tell you, man.
Star Wars. Just
never grow up. It's the key to staying young. Don't grow up. People keep telling you to grow up, and at that time you grew up. It's like, nope.
Overrated.
Not happening.
Kids have the most fun. You gotta stay
exactly.
You gotta stay young at heart.
Yeah, exactly.
The real Jedi Princess is here. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for being here.
The real Jedi Princess, a good friend of mine, Natalia, she just received her Dark Ray as well.
Ooh.
But unfortunately, her hinge isn't latching. So I think it may be a spring problem. So I'm going to have to, after this stream, I'm going to have to go and try and help her sort that out. And if not, then I'm going to have to try and...
Never know.
Try different methods.
Might just be a case of a little bit of WD-40. It could be latch if it's like a spring latch.
Stiff spring, I think so, yeah. I think so. But, I mean, again, going back to what someone said earlier on, man, the LGT sometimes can be hit or miss. These days, they're a lot more hit than they are miss. But, again, anything that's mass-produced, you know, in this world, you're going to have the potential, aren't you, for something to go wrong.
You're going to have your red ring, no matter
definitely.
How hard you try.
Did Master Sabers ever come back? Because I know they turned it. What was it? They turned into VFX, wasn't it? They turned into.
So they're still kicking around, but they lost the licensing, didn't they?
But
went to Hasbro.
Yeah, but a couple of years ago, the Master Sabers, not Master Sabers, it popped back up again, a web page, just one page with their logo on it, Master Replica's logo, and it just said coming soon, and I went back a couple of times and it was just the same web page saying coming soon, so I don't know if Master Replicas ever did finally come back again.
I've just googled it. There's nothing there. It was a shame because the stuff that they'd done was great. You know, it was really the FX stuff that they'd done, the Force FX stuff that they'd done, which is what got me into, you know, the community the first time around. You know, and I was like 17. I've still got one actually. That Yoda behind me on the wall. This guy here.
Yeah,
that's a Master Replica. That's like that's ancient now. But I managed to collect the vast majority of them, and I loved them. They were great, you know. Like you were saying earlier on, like having a string blade, it was like up and down. It was like no such thing as smooth swing. It was double A and triple A, you know.
But the thing is, it made noises as well. It made the saber noise, and it made the clashes as well.
It was great, you know. It was absolutely.
I've still got my brother's Luke Skywalker one actually. I converted it, so it hasn't got the string in it anymore, but it was damaged, so. Yeah, it's now been converted to a Luxian or something in it, or a Tricree.
Yeah, that's what I was getting into as well. CF4
salvaged from something I picked up in a skip a couple of years ago, somewhere in my collection. Where I couldn't actually tell you.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that I let go though far too cheap, and I realised that it was going for a lot of money. Was just when Hasbro took over the contract from Master Replicas. Master Replicas released a limited run of like 500 Kenobi Episode 1s.
Yeah.
And I was online and I managed to get one, right? And I had it sat there, and then Hasbro took over. And I had no idea that there were actual, even back in 2009 at this point, there were actual collectors out there that were paying over the odds for the Master Replicas one, because the fact that Hasbro released it as well made it even more valuable, because it was the MR 2008. It was the last of the last that they'd done. Yeah, I think I sold it for like $400.
Just say, how much was it?
I paid.
No one tell me the odds.
I paid like $350 for it, and that was from the States.
Mm-hmm.
I sold it for 400 and something, so I made a profit. Then a year later, I was online and seen one going for like $1,000, and I was like, why did I sell that?
Which one is that? Which saber is that?
So before, just when Master Replica was going to the wall, and Hasbro took over all the kind of FX stuff back in 2009, It was the Kenobi episode 1 that Master Replica released, but there was only like 500 of them. There wasn't many of them. Like the rest of them, there was like multiple thousands worldwide. But this was their last run. But the first one that Hasbro released was the episode 1 Kenobi. So because of that, everyone was kind of clambering to try and get the Master Replicas one, which put the value through the roof because there was only so many of them, you know. And I didn't know this, and I sold mine for way what I should have sold it for.
I wonder if, like, I guess I wonder two things. One is if somebody flipped yours, and the second one, you know, when they bought it, did they flip it and make $600? And the second thing I want to know is like, did these Kenobi sabers, like, did they even grow further with the show? Like, are those sabers popular now, you think, or probably not because they can get a better Kenobi some other way or some other saber?
Looking across the board, and not just LGT, looking at like SP Sabers props, you know, Sean, good buddy of mine, he does some great stuff. He's based out in Australia. Looking at KR and Corbanth, there's definitely a huge demand. And not just for the one from the Kenobi show. There's a massive demand for like episode 1 as well. From at least from what I'm seeing and hearing about, you know, and people and what people are telling me.
Yeah, I noticed the episode 1 thing too.
I mean, I got episode 1 in yesterday just because I really wanted episode 1 again, so I got one in yesterday, you know. So if my behaviour is any indication of the general kind of consensus, then I think the Obi-Wan show has put the popularity of all of his merch, whether it's lightsabers or what it is, through the roof. Absolutely.
Well, I remember before the 89 Sabers Mace Windu came out, obviously the only Mace Windu you could get was a Master Replica FX saber, and they were pretty tragic. They were gigantic, basically. And I remember the first time when I come across Goodman, and Goodman converted a static Master Replica Mace Windu. I was like, oh my god, that is absolutely incredible. And that was basically what I used as the template for me when I converted my episode 3 static Darth Vader hilt, and made that the first one in the world. I will tell you again, it was the first one in the world.
You're not
still got it.
You're not wrong about that Mace Windu one. That was chunky, man. That was the first FX that I ever got, and I didn't care it was chunky. It was, honest to God, it was like that. And the battery pack took 6 AA's. It was that long, the battery pack inside.
Oh,
AA's.
It was absolutely mental. It's absolutely crazy.
It was an monster, wasn't it?
When I finally saw like the 89 Sabers Mace Windu, or I think it was that one, and it's supposed to be actual size, it was like night and day. It looked almost too small because I was so used to handling the...
That's exactly it. When you get it, you're like, this can't be right. What's going on? It's tiny.
As a matter of fact, same thing.
And then you go and get the FX Saber by Master Replica, and you put it in. You're like, no, this is definitely right.
Yeah.
It's pretty mad. And obviously, you get the actual pictures of Samuel L. Jackson holding his screen prop, and you're like, and you look at you hold it in your hand like the 89 Sabers one, and you look at it. Yeah, they got the size pretty much right.
All the way around it.
Yeah.
Can you get your hands round a Mace Windu?
Well, it's the opposite, Gary. You've got the Master Replica one in your hands, right? Which was, by the way, beautiful, right? But it was a chunky boy.
Oh, it's well built as well.
You're looking at the same photograph, and it's like either I've got really small hands, or Sam Jackson has got complete shovels.
Yeah,
you know, like there's a scaling problem here.
Yeah, it's pretty
Black
crazy.
Star Sabers, hello there.
Can
Mark
I just say,
caught alive. No, you've caught lives before, Mark. What's going on? Welcome. Guy Loren is here. Evening all from North Wales. Yay, a Saber stream I'm awake for.
So let's get off the subject of Sabers for a little bit and just talk about the shows, because it's been a while since we've caught up with this, like 2 years, Anthony, on there's been a few things, hasn't there? We've had, what, 2 seasons of Mando.
Mandalorian. We had a season of Boba Fett. I'm trying to.
We had a season of Boba Fett, and now we've got
and 8 episodes of Kenobi, or 6 episodes.
Kenobi.
6 episodes, yeah, 6 episodes of Kenobi, and what?
12 episodes of Andor coming up.
So
when does that start?
August 31st.
Oh, that's sooner than I thought. I thought you were going to say Christmas time.
No,
So what are we thinking then?
It's a double episode as well.
I thought the first season of Mandalorian was pretty cool. I thought the second season was pretty cool.
Was the first season the one that ended with Luke Skywalker coming in? Was that the end of the first season? Yeah, so everybody lost their shit.
I'm in the small minority of people who didn't like Luke Skywalker at the end of Mando season 2.
Really? I think we talked about that. But why?
What?
How come you didn't like that scene?
I didn't think he looked right. I liked the fighting. I liked the hallway scene and all that stuff. It was kind of like, this is a bit like Darth Vader at the end of Rogue One sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's, when he stood there, I was like, something's not quite right. To me, it didn't look right. And the funny thing is I've actually been using Mark Hamill for all the CGI footage. He's actually been doing all of the scenes, and then they've just been using CGI to make him look younger. But so I don't know. There's just something about the way he stood there, and
the thing that really bothered me about it, right, is, I mean, I've not been shy about being a Kyle Katarn fanboy, right? And Kyle Katarn's big claim to claim is, you know, in the first Dark Forces is killing all the Dark Troopers. When they brought the Dark Troopers back for Mando season 2, I was desperately hoping that maybe they would bring Kyle Katarn back just to kill the Dark Troopers. And then a Jedi appears with a green lightsaber, and it's not Kyle Katarn!
Overall, I liked it. Season 2, like that as well. Boba Fett, on the other hand, I've never been a big Boba Fett fan. I've always thought he was overhyped. He was never a big character in the film, so for me, it's a case of, he's probably going to upset a few people, but hey ho. It's just like, to me, he was just like a back character. He weren't supposed to be anything other than just someone that was doing a job and getting Han Solo to Jabba. But I thought it just, I don't know, that season just really sort of dragged for me. It just, it was meant to be. This is the other thing. It was meant to be about Boba Fett, but there was one whole episode that Boba Fett wasn't even in. It was like, what's that all about? Put Mando in. It's like, what, did they forget this Mando episode? It was meant to be in the Mando series, but they just we'll chuck it in Boba Fett.
That's Destiny, man. That's what they do. That's what they do, right? Another show from a character who, absolutely was never a main character, but sometimes, you know, you come across a franchise with a character who's either a supporting role or something like that, and you think, oh, wait a minute, what's his story? You know? Yeah,
well, I mean, obviously he's become a cult figure. He has done for 30 odd years, hasn't he? But I won't take that away from him. He looks cool and stuff, but
but Darth Vader in George Lucas's in the original in George Lucas's original plan for the 7, 8, 9 trilogy, Boba Fett was going to take over as Darth Vader's Darth Vader's relationship to as the underling to the Emperor.
Oh.
And then when George Lucas realised that he wasn't going to be making a second trilogy after the first trilogy because the special effects of the time didn't match up to his vision, and he ended up scrapping the second trilogy, he just killed Boba Fett off by throwing him into a sarlacc as quick as he can, because
I thought he deserved it. Get in that pit.
Let's talk about that scene though in Boba Fett, like, you know, him getting out of the Sarlacc pit and emerging from it. Like, people have been like asking for that. I mean, there was fan films made about that on friggin' YouTube. You know, like, me personally, you know, Mando season 1 and 2, loved it. Loved every minute of it. It kept my sanity through the first lockdown here in the UK, and then eventually the second lockdown here in the UK. And then Boba Fett, I enjoyed the majority of it. I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the story. I liked the Power Rangers cameo. That was pretty cool. Like when I say the Power Rangers cameo, I mean all the different Vespas.
Yeah.
But then Disney does what Disney does, and Disney markets. And Disney doesn't stop marketing. It's always.
I like the Rancor. Does that count?
The Rancor is great, you know.
I like the Rancor.
Was it Johnny? Is it Johnny Trejo or something like that? The actor?
Yeah,
Danny Trejo. Danny Trejo. Like he just appears in in everything.
Well, he's an actual real life cousin of Robert Rodriguez, so that's how he gets into all of Robert Rodriguez's productions.
Ah,
that's it. But no, I thought they used Mando perfectly in Boba Fett, because obviously that's two stories that are interlinked, and obviously teasing the next season of The Mandalorian. The only thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit was the fact that if you were to show someone Mandalorian season 1 and 2 and then jump into Mandalorian season 3, at the end of season 2 you see Grogu leaving with Luke, and then all of a sudden at the start of season 3 he's back with Mando. So if you don't watch Boba Fett, you don't know what's happened.
Yeah.
So that annoyed me a little bit. They should have left that, I think, until season 3.
So I think the reason for myself, I think for a lot of other people with the Mandalorian series, the reason that they've been so well received, it feels again like Star Wars, like that universe, but I think because it was a totally unique new character, it gave us something we hadn't. They weren't trying to use someone else's storylines. They weren't trying to fit this into this. They weren't trying to work in an old character into their new canon that they've been doing, and because it was a totally new person, you was learning about a new person and a new character, where he come from, how he changes from being the bounty hunter that he was and doing a job to saving Grogu and stuff, and I think that's why it's been so well received and why so many people like it. And then when Boba Fett come on, I mean, I'm not the only one that thought Boba Fett was a bit disappointing. I've read a few other people on the forums in the chat, like the group chats for it, that have said the same thing. Well, it wasn't as good as Mandalorian. And it's like, it's because you're expecting too much. You already know about Boba Fett. There's not really much they can say. They come up with this whole sand people story and getting out of the Sarlacc pit and everything, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of okay, but everyone was expecting more than what they got.
Like get good. Like everybody can't become kind. It's too many people. It's too many people. Like Darth Vader becomes good. Okay, fantastic. We all loved it. But you can't do that with every character. So when you have Mando, it's like, okay, you did it successfully there. We have this character who is like a bounty hunter or some kind of like a mercenary. And by the end of it, he's kind and he's helping this creature. That's okay. But like an established villain who, you know, was harassing our main characters the last time we saw him, for him to be kind and stuff in this series was just like every decision Boba Fett made in his series, like I basically hated. Like, you know, when like when he let the Wookiee kind of go away after he's been hiring his own mercenaries, and he's got a mercenary right in front of him who's a monster and who, in my opinion, is like twice as strong as Chewbacca, and he's like, okay. Bye. And then we see the Wookiee like run away like stupidly in the sand, right? And then only later, like an episode or two later, he sees the Wookiee in a bar and he's like, oh, maybe I should hire him. It's like, you idiot. Like, what about the last episode when you just let him run away? Like,
let's face it, Boba Fett was like Greedo. They were arseholes. to put it mildly, they're not nice people. They go out and kill and capture people for money. They're not like nice people.
Yeah, like by like, you know, basically we had who was the woman next to Boba Fett that was his second in command?
Shan.
Yeah, another one that's been taken from the Clone Wars.
Like she had the attitude I think Boba Fett should have had. Boba Fett should have been behind her because there was one point. It was like a jerk of a guy who was like the governor's assistant or something, who was like talking to Boba Fett, and she put her hand on her pistol like she was going to threaten him, and Boba Fett stops her hand. And, no, we're just talking now or something. It's like, no, that's the type of person Boba Fett should be. Like, yeah, pull the gun out, threaten this guy. Because a couple scenes later, that same guy betrays them anyway. So it's like, if she pulled out her gun and shot him or just threatened him, she would have been in the right. He was going to betray them anyway.
So you do know they're going to make her a nice person by the next season
they
as well.
Better not. Like, she's already a little too nice, but because
she in Clone Wars and Bad Batch, she's awesome.
She was completely badass in Bad Batch. She was great.
Yeah, she's.
What did you guys think of the Bad Batch?
Oh, I thought it was good.
I'm enjoying it.
You've not watched it?
I've not watched the Bad Batch.
What?
Oh, Tony, come on, man! You're letting the side down here.
Come on!
There was a time
Bad Batch is awesome. It is brilliant. You got to watch it.
Yeah.
Nothing Star Wars could get by me. I absorbed and took in everything Star Wars, but lately it has been so prolific that I can't grasp it all. Like, it's I'm like behind as far as like my viewing.
Your mission for this weekend is to jump on the couch.
I will check it out.
Right, jump on the couch and just go through and watch it, and you'll be like, "Why didn't I watch this before? Am I stupid?"
Oh, that'll be great. I'm about ready for something good. Yeah.
Seriously, I thought it was awesome. I was well shocked at how good it actually is.
And it also ended somewhere that's been reinstated from Legends canon as well.
Oh, okay. I'm excited to see that then.
But I'm not going to say any more than that because I want you to enjoy it.
See, Gylo Ren agrees with me.
it was very enjoyable, but some of it was a little bit repetitive, in my opinion. With
a couple of bits of it wasn't being on the run and stuff.
Yeah. I loved everything else. There was a lot of kind of callbacks, and we seen. I'm not going to ruin it for Tony, but we've seen a lot of stuff in terms of in between eras. And I really enjoyed it. But I think season 2 is going to be even better. I think season 1 it was just kind of getting going and telling a little bit of a backstory. I think season 2 is going to be insane.
For the trend, because this is the thing, Anthony. The thing that you're missing about it is this is literally the series where it's the transition between the old clones and the new stormtroopers. It's in that exact period where they're starting to get rid of the clones to bring in the stormtroopers, and you've got this crossing over period where the Bad Batch are basically starting to feel like we're not needed anymore. What's going on here, sort of thing. It's and they're starting to replace them, and they can see it happening, and they're wondering what's going to be happening to themselves and stuff.
What's the idea with like the clone troopers? Do they like how they quickly get up to age 20 in 5 years, or whatever it is, 5 or 10 years? Like they're accelerated aged. Do they also age out to being very old? Because in Obi-Wan or in Kenobi, we see like a beggar, like an old clone trooper beggar kind of guy. And he looked older than just 10 years later, right? It's supposed to be 10 years later.
They do carry on aging really quickly. It's
in the old canon, it was double aging. So, a 10-year-old was 20, and every year was up 2.
Yeah, it's if you watch Rebels as well, you see the Rebels when Ahsoka sends the guys down to find them, and you've got the 3 of them or 4 of them, and you can see like how badly they've aged. In literally, that's Rebels. I believe is 5 years after.
Oh right, okay, that makes sense. Then. Yeah, because like the guys had like the white beard and stuff in Rebels.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So they've aged obviously more than what we would have expected them to, but
they never cured the aging problem in this canon. In Legends, they did cure the aging problem for some of them, but
in
I think it wasn't that they needed to cure it. It was the way that they was processed. They wanted them quickly, and the only way to get them quickly was to age them faster, to build that into their DNA, that they would age quicker to get an army quicker. Normal cloning wouldn't have had any problems with that, but it's literally because they needed the army quicker, they had to grow them quicker, so it had that knock-on effect.
An altered clone.
Yeah. Which is exactly what you get with Boba Fett. He doesn't age the same way because he grew naturally.
Gylo Ren says 46 here, chaps, and I only started making sabers 2 years ago. Well, it's never too late to start. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think that I'm going to start making the switch to installing my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just for me. In fact, I think he was here earlier on. Black Star Sabers. Good friend of mine, Ryan. He's a great UK-based installer. He does pretty much all of my empty stuff, but he was kind enough to give me a tutorial on installing bits and pieces, and like the Corbanth SK. Where is it? This one here. The Rogue. I basically went up to his house in the north of Scotland. I'm about 3 hours from him, and he was like, "Right, okay, let's burn your fingers for the first time," as he said. I'd never done any soldering before. I'd never done anything, and he taught me how to do a lot of the installing kind of stuff. So I'm going to be getting shortly, hopefully, my own kind of soldering iron and stuff like that, and at least trying to start installing my own stuff. So.
It's worth doing.
Yeah. I certainly think
got a good deal.
For me, the whole it's still a hobby, and I do keep wondering every now and then if I should try and find some way of making a bit of a profit off it. But I could.
The problem you've got now, like when I started building them and selling them, I looked and there was a few places around, and I was like, well, I'm starting off. There's no way I can compete with what the likes of Vader's Vault were doing, and other people that were established sabersmiths on FX Sabers forum. I was starting at the bottom, same as Cal did with KR. Cal had money behind him though. He had his parents backing him, which was always a bonus for him as well, and he had a good job at the time. So what he had was a benefit to him, and I looked and I thought, well, there's already people doing this, so I needed to do other things, make things that are slightly more special, and to go that route rather than doing the same thing. I'll tell you what, it gets so repetitive doing Luke Skywalker hilts. It's like, oh god, not another bloody Graphlix. It's like, please send me something other than a Graphlix to install, especially after episode 7 come out. It was like, what do you want installed? Let me guess, a Graphlix. It's like palm face.
My other hobby is building these things.
Yeah, stay on those. You'll probably make way more money if you start building custom guitars.
No. We have exactly the same thing. The only thing that everyone wants are Les Pauls, Telecasters, or Strats. That's it. That's all they want. No one wants anything new or any interesting shapes or anything slightly different. It just has to be a Les Paul, a 59 Les Paul, a 53 Strat, a 53 Telecaster, or a 59 Strat. That's all the market wants.
It's funny you say that, because I was just about to say, oh, Andy, we'll need to have a conversation about a Telecaster. favorite guitar. I've had 3 of them in my life. I love them.
I can play a guitar. I can make a noise anyway. Give me a guitar and I'll make a racket.
If we're showing off territory, let me bring my latest masterpiece of horror.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what it would be if I got hold of it. It would be a horror on your ears.
Oh, that's
cool. You're not able to sell these?
No, because the market isn't interested in them. That's the problem.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Man, if I played guitar, I'd be
beautiful.
ordering them from you all the time.
This is the problem in the guitar market right now is that the only thing that really sells are replicas of famous old guitars. It's exactly the same thing as Graflex replicas and Kenobi built replicas. It's the only thing that people want are the replicas of the famous things. And
there's got to be people that want custom lightsabers. I mean, in the saber scene, you've got people that have custom lightsabers, and they come to you and they say, "Can you build this saber for me?" And they give you a design, and you do what they want. So there's got to be people like that want custom sabers. I mean, there's guitarists. I mean, look at Brian May, made his own guitar. He didn't go and buy a Strat. You know what I mean? He made his own one with his dad.
It's a very, very limited market, and it still hasn't quite recovered from COVID.
So
pretty much all guitarists I know in person are still at the stages where they're selling or pawning off their guitar collection from before the play go, because live music is starting to pick up back at well. It's actually it's picking up quite well now, and gigs are starting to I know people are performing in pubs right now, so they're starting to make their money back, but we're still not quite at the stage where guitarists want to spend their money on fancy new instruments just yet anyway.
My suggestion is make videos with your creations and do them regularly, and then people will email you and be like, I want one of those.
That's the thing. It's exactly the same as building sabers. You've got to put the videos out there for people to see them.
I did a bit of that last year, and as fun as it was also just an absolute nightmare.
Just stick a lightsaber blade in the end of it, and everyone will be buying them.
Or Andy, what about that kind of gives me an idea though, to have a NeoPixel strip.
Yeah, up the frets. So as you're using the frets, they light up as you.
And it's changing colors when he's on the different notes, it's reacting.
That'd be pretty cool.
Go through to my box of. I need a micro.
Actually, the closest thing that I've seen to that, Anthony, is the.
I'm just going to mute myself.
Was it level 42? The lead singer and bassist, level 42. On the frets on his guitar, he's got where the little dots would be that you get on them. He's got the little LEDs where the dots would be on it. It's the only time I've ever seen that on a guitar before is on his one.
I was just going to say, when you were talking earlier on, Gary, about another Graflex, another Graflex, another Graflex. Do you know who I really feel sorry for in the community is Jeremy from Solo Sabers, because all he seems to do at the moment is Throne Hunters, Star Killers, and some sort of Graflex. Those are every single day I see something of Jeremy's, and it's one of those three. He must be sick to the back teeth of those three help.
So you were saying about frets that light up, right?
Yeah.
Way ahead of you.
The Blues Bro is here. What's going on, buddy?
Wes. Welcome, man.
Connection's a bit dodgy, but.
Oh yes!
Wow.
Cool. That's what I'm talking about, man.
I've got NeoPixels inbuilt into the frets of this one already,
and they're twinkling.
Yeah. My idea with this one was to put. I've got a Arduino in there, which is shorting out a little bit. But my initial intention was to put a teasing in here, but I couldn't get a teasing to communicate to my computer for some reason. So I just got a basic Arduino in there just to run the basic twinkle code. But
yeah, Andy, what would be crazy too is if you set up a Profi.
Yeah, I was just going to say, put a Profi on it. You don't need the speaker on it, but the reactive sound and the clashes and stuff.
Yeah, so when
it'd be ice.
Note, it's
that was absolutely the plan. These two knobs here are your standard volume and tone.
Yeah.
This is just a rotary thingy, a rotary potentiometer switch.
Yeah.
The idea was to have a teensy in this top slot with an 18650 that would do pretty much all the basic lightsaber Profi OS stuff, like swings and clashes, but without the smooth swing. It didn't need to do the audio because it's got pickups. It makes its own noises, but it could have all the light effects for the pixels inbuilt into the neck.
Yeah.
But
that's killer, man. I love that. I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, life got in the way. I built this for the Great Guitar Build Off last year, which was a guitar building contest, and Space, you know how my luck fares with contests.
Yeah. I think that contest, that guitar contest, I think you quit it, but you still finished the guitar, right? And you came out with the video a little bit late.
Yeah, I underestimated how long it would take me just to get it finished, and I ran out of money as well.
I felt for you so bad that, like, when you put out that video and say you had to back out, I really felt for you. I was like, man, that is a shame that can't happen, you know. But it looks like you're finishing it anyway. So
it's a bit of a mess, and it plays. It's not very well set up. The action is way too high for what I'm comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is badass looking.
Also, the bridge, the tremolo is entirely handmade as well.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Unfortunately, it's uncomfortable as hell though, because I thought it'd be cool to have those roller bearings for the tremolos instead of a knife edge bridge, and I got these ridiculous M7 titanium bolts to anchor them down. They are just in the wrong place for putting your palm on when you're playing. So it's uncomfortable as fuck. But like, in short, this is a very good part one of a prototype that has a lot of potential but needs some improvement before it's an actual viable instrument. And I'm still working on it. It's just right now, Darth Real Life and his Padawan Darth Oh Fuck Where's My Budget are...
That's how I'm feeling just now with lightsabers.
Well, that's the one point when, like, you're building your own stuff that it's like, you know, there is that benefit to, like, let's say getting an LGT saber and you know how much you're paying and you know what you're getting. When you start in the endeavor of, like, building it yourself, and the next thing you know, you're, like, broke, you know, because, like, you're like, oh, I'll just buy this machine and it'll help me with this part of it. And then it's like, well, I need this. And it's like, I'm just going to buy, 6 of them because there's this deal on 6 of them. And then, oh, I need a new soldering gun and all this stuff. So that by the end of it, it's like a fortune just to make that custom piece. So.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
When my builds properly, because I think that if I did, I would start hating. I would just stop building lightsabers.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm actively saving for at the moment is one of those TriStar blades. That's what I'm actively saving for. I've seen them, dude, for so long, and I've put it off, and I've put it off, and I've put it off, and I've put it off. And I talked to Carly King, and I was like, are they actually, like, what they say they are? Are they actually that much brighter? She was like, dude, they're bright. And I'm like, okay, I need to get one. So, and I seen the video she done of her outside, and I'm like,
that was intense.
Those trees are like 85 feet tall, and it's lighting them up. That's definitely bright. So I'm down. I'm doing it at some point.
I was surprised too when, like, Gabe had sent me a video a couple years back. Cause I sent Gabe home with a TriStar, and then he went outside and made a video that was at night, and his daughter was taking the picture, taking the video, and there was trees all around him, and they were all lit up. And I was like, Gabe, what kind of camera are you using? He says, it's just a phone. It's reflecting off all the trees. And then when Carly's video came out, she had messaged me, and I was blown away by the video because I her reaction was so grand about the saber, and she had messaged me. She goes, I'm actually not going to use any other blades. because I guess she liked it that much. She's like, I can't go back to using a different type of blade now. So I was like, oh, that's like the best compliment I could hear. You're only going to use that one.
It was Jesse as well, and Jesse Kyberphonic. I was talking to him about it one night, because when there's a show on, I typically do the kind of after show kind of thing and have people on and talk about it and whatnot. And we were done with the show and just kind of hanging out in back of StreamYard like you do when everything's done. And he put one in, and he was like, "Oh no, it's friggin' insane. It's bright. It's nuts." I'm like, "Cool, yep, I'm getting one." So
that was actually part of like what I was going to ask you guys about too, which is like, I know we're only about halfway through 2022, but I got this idea in my head that I was going to ask you guys a question about 2023 and ask you if you had any plans, like Saber plans. Like, what's your Saber goal for 2023? If you've thought that far ahead, like we could start with Andy and see, and we can go around and see what we can do.
I've kind of put myself on a bit of a hiatus lately, just because like I said, Darth Real Life and Darth Budget have been issues. So I've still been, creating the lightsabers and coming up with CAD models. I just got about 5 or 6 just in CAD, waiting for the budget to turn up to be made into a reality. I think I'm going to start on my delayed Golden Saber challenge in the next couple of weeks, which is going to be interesting.
Are your CAD Saber designs, are they going to be like made into like a composite type saber, or are they going to be metal saber hilts? I'm
probably going to go with a hybrid thing. The one thing I don't like, I like 3D printing because it has the versatility. You can just make with a bit of work, you can make a lot of complex stuff at home relatively easily. But at the same time, I just don't like the way entirely 3D printed stuff looks. So I think like the hybrid effect, like mixing a bit of metal and a bit of plastic, like 3D printed metal works a lot better just as a design. This is just a piece of pipe and some 3D printed plastic stuck into it.
That is pretty. That's nice.
The thing is, I mean, this goes back to what we were saying about weapons earlier on. You look at any handguns, you look at any machine guns, they're metal with plastic parts for grips. So it's not that plastic isn't used. Just because it's a lightsaber doesn't mean to say there's not going to be some plastic on it somewhere.
This was my first all 3D printed lightsaber chassis, and I just don't like it. It was interesting enough when I made it as an experiment, and it was good to learn how to use the technology. But there's something about this that just.
I get what you mean. I'm the same with Delrin. When I saw Delrin, because that was being machined and used before 3D printing come along, and I look at a Delrin chassis and I'm like, it's just smooth plastic. It's been machined. It's horrible. To me, it didn't fit. It didn't look right to me. But it's perfect for being non-conductive and stopping boards from shorting out. Whereas that's what would happen if you put in metal chassis inside them. So this was my this is my Sith Rose, the world's first 4-bladed lightsaber.
That's killer, man.
This is the one I made. I made this one. This was my 4th saber, and this was my 5th saber. And I don't know whether it's just me, but it's just something about the way the metal and the plastic meld together that make it feel like this one is a step. This one is the 5th one, and this one is the 4th one. It feels like I've regressed in my design, in my way of designing things.
Well, I think just because you weren't like, let's say, pushing the limits or pushing the boundaries doesn't necessarily mean like you were regressing. It was just a different kind of like the Sith Rose pushed the limits of like what could be done, and then the other one's more of a standard. I
think it's progress, because you don't progress unless you learn from what you've done, and you learned that you didn't like the 5th one and you preferred the 4th one. So
this is currently on a nano viscosity 3, So I'm thinking a full proppy near-pixel RGB conversion would be definitely in order for my finest lightsaber.
Yeah, for sure.
They're still my precious, my sweet. Let's see. Apart from that, yeah, really, my plans for 2023, maybe get some of the lightsabers I got as CAD models into reality. Also, sort of. Well, good. This is a good place for me to announce it. I've been thinking of coming back to YouTube a little bit and doing a little video series about how to make an actual small-scale desktop metal cutting lathe from scratch. So that's going to be my next big my next big project is going to be I'm calling it the Sabers lathe.
Oh, that's awesome! That sounds like a great idea. I don't know of any videos like that. That's
the
cool.
idea of how to make, because this is the thing I've been researching, like the history of lathes a little bit, and like 100 years ago there were plenty of like little hobby or engineering or student lathe models that were like the size of 170 keyboard. Like you could put them on a desk, run them either with hand power or with early electric motors, and they only had like a 2-inch by 4-inch chuck. But those lathes were so prolific in like small workshops that when the Blitz happened in the Second World War, there were so many small lathes around the country that the military was able to spread out the production of military parts to small workshops in Britain in the middle of nowhere that just had a couple of small engineer-grade hobby lathes that it kept us going in war. When,
the problem you've got, as I've found from having a small lathe, is the chuck size limits you on the size of the material you can put in it. It's an absolute pain. I had to have special bits machined for me so that I could screw on parts. If it was like an MHS piece, for instance, and the customer wanted it to look a particular way, I would get the blank MHS piece, and then I would use the lathe, but I'd have to use my tool that screwed onto the threaded section of the MHS piece, just so that it will fit into the chuck in the lathe. And that's the limiting factor with having a tabletop or desktop style or mini lathe, whatever you want to call them, is you're limited on what you can actually put in them to actually use. If you want to put a tube in it that's the size of a lightsaber handle, you've got no chance. You've basically got to have a garage and put a full-size lathe in it.
Yeah, the way I figure it is that it really comes down to what I want. Really comes down to the size of the parts that I'm producing. Right?
Exactly. Yep.
So if I'm working on like MHS parts that are like 3 inches long or 4 inches long at most, I'm not going to need that much workspace. So I don't know. It's just the way I've put a lot of thought into this, and a lot of thought makes only sense in here. And I can't explain it clearly.
If you 1 second, guys, I'll be back. I'll just go and grab hold of something quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what I hope to be my big summer project. Trying to build my own lathe specifically for the purpose of making like little lightsabers. Like the idea that there's like a bit of a gap in the market as far as I see it for like small desktop lathes. So I'm thinking maybe if I can make something that works, maybe that's a business opportunity I could exploit a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So small, cheap but efficient DIY lathe plans to my fellow lightsaber enthusiasts for those of us who want to spin metal but don't have a big workshop. And but that's just.
The last time I spun metal in that respect was probably, I don't know, in the 10th grade at high school.
So
and I wasn't very good at it, so I just kind of left it alone.
Yeah,
that's
you left with all your fingers.
Yeah, thankfully.
I had to.
I have something on the books as well that that I very briefly discussed with Anthony the last time I was on one of his shows, and that's all I'm saying because I don't want to ruin.
You have to go back and watch that one.
These are the parts that I had made so that I could machine.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, that goes into the small chuck.
Mm-hmm.
That goes into the chuck. Basically, it's like that is tiny. Yeah. It's like 10 mil in size, and then the inside of it is threaded. So that takes a male section, and then there's the female. This is the male, and obviously the female thread goes onto that, and that's the same thing. So I could basically use MHS parts to machine them in my small lathe, because I couldn't afford a big lathe and I didn't have a garage to put it in.
Yeah.
So okay for Anthony. Anthony could like fit 5 lathes in his place, but and they actually obviously they're the same thread types. So. But it's the things you do to get around the things that are holding you back from doing the things that you want to do. And unfortunately, I had to go to a machinist to get the parts that I wanted to use for machining.
Yeah, it's the old dilemma that you need a lathe to make a lathe. So
yeah, that is it, or a milling machine, one of the two.
You get one.
I mean,
adapt and overcome, gentlemen. Adapt and overcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian J. Falzone says probably a dumb question.
My drill press is great sorrow. You can't really use a drill press as a mill.
No.
Not really.
I found that out, so I got the Proxon. I made a video about the Proxon I got. It's like a mini mill.
How's the Proxon doing for you?
I haven't used it as much as I want to, but I've begun making like a custom chassis for a Leia Saber, and I'm having a lot of fun doing that. So I want to make another couple custom chassis for a Romans Obi-Wan MK, I forget what they call it, and also a Darth Vader MPP. So I want to do like a series of those like in copper. I started out with the Leia with like copper, and I really like the way that it's coming. It's pretty cool. I used to try to do stuff with just the drill press. It wasn't enough for certain things.
One thing I found when I got the lathe is I was like, yeah, I need a lathe. And you think you're going to use it for absolutely everything, and then you get it and you're like, it just sits there for months and you don't touch it, and then all of a sudden something comes along and you go, I can use the lathe. And you use it for that one thing, and then it just sits there gathering dust again for another 2 months before something comes along and you can go, I can use the lathe.
I've been busy like building blades and haven't had a chance to do much metal work.
My lathe project to be desktop and portable. Like I'm not planning on using steel with it. I want something that can just do aluminium, brass, maybe metal.
Mine's definitely not portable. You need like 3 people to lift mine. Mine's prehistoric. Mine was like made in the 1940s or 50s, the lathe that I've got, and it is all cast iron. It weighs an absolute ton. I need to put it on like a reinforced table and stuff when I use it. It probably weighs about the same as a small car. Yeah. It's a desktop lathe, but it's like absolutely ridiculous, the weight of it.
I am very, very jealous. Just putting it out
there. Brian asks, probably a dumb question, but would it be difficult to build your own TriStar? I mean, difficult. If you built another type of blade before, it's probably not too much different. You're just kind of adding another strip. And I do sell a TriStar kit, which is out of stock right now because I'm waiting for the PCBs for the TriStar to come in. See, when I first started making the TriStars, I was using like a regular PCB which didn't have enough connections on there. You had to like double up on some pads. But my new chip actually has, the 9 connections that you need. So that should be in stock in like a couple weeks if you want to check Civilized Sabers for that. So I give you that little chip and also the core, the tri-core, which is like allows you to put your 3 strips on the triangle backing, so it comes out to be like an equal triangle all around.
I'm totally buying that when it comes back in. That's what I'm doing.
Sweet.
I'm doing yeah. I'll do that, and I'll send it up to Ryan at Black Star Sabers, and he can build the blade. That's what I'm going to do. Man.
I have Master Windu. I have a problem that you might be able to help me resolve.
Okay.
So I made my own NeoPixel blade from scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was fixing it a little bit the other day, and the foam is. I managed to compress the foam inside the tube when I was putting the blade back into it, and I've got a bit of pixel strip exposed. So even on my, even when it's in hilt, there's still.
Right. So you mean like the foam is so tight in there that it kind of compressed as you pushed it in a sense?
Yeah, you can just about see a couple of spots right at the very end where the foam is just compressed in on itself.
Okay, well, like the tip I'm going to give you like works better in a trans white, but you could try it if you're willing to get this product in the clear, which is powder, like white talcum powder. Yeah, you kind of put it on your hands and then like have the foam out and kind of like massage the foam and get some of that powder around the foam, and then smooth it out so it's like the proper length from your blade, so you won't have any showing LEDs. And then pinch the front of the foam, push the tip in the blade, have the tip of the blade off because the air pressure won't allow it to go in properly if the tip's on. Take the tip.
Mine's epoxied on, so.
Okay. Well, you could try what I'm saying. It may still work with the powder. It's kind of like a lubricant almost, like to get that in there. But with a clear blade, the reason why I'm saying it may not be as good is because now you'll have like kind of powder in there a little bit, whereas in a trans white you can't see it anyway.
Yeah. See, that's. The one thing I don't like about the NeoPixel blades, just as a thing, is I don't like the thick blades.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like the
like thinner looking.
Yeah, I like the thinner
ones
that we had back in the the film days when it was all tritrides and Luxons.
Well, if you wanted to back up a couple steps and kind of start a new blade, what might work better is the thin strips. So they're called like skinny strips, and it's got like the 35 LEDs on there.
Yeah,
that will allow you. Yeah, like it would allow you to maybe put some heat shrink around the LEDs as well, and then kind of form like a little round assembly, and then shove that in the foam, and it'll kind of take up the space better than the 50-50 strips, which is pushing out on the foam.
Do they make those 35 strips with RGBW?
Yes, they just started. Yeah, it's they're like, well, on the website I go to, they're kind of a lot, but you could probably find like an aftermarket version of it, which normally they're like.
What I do like about this one, when I upgraded it, it was an RGB, and I upgraded it to RGBW, and then
nice. It's nice. It's nice. Like it makes it so you could like see it in the daytime and stuff. It's crazy bright.
Or failing those tips, you could do what I do. Mm-hmm. Lots of swearing.
Does that help?
Usually it's goddamn bloody.
Just imagine, like, is Gary okay? Yeah, he's just building another blade again. It's fine.
That's the usual one. It's like I get it all put together, and I'm looking. I'm like, you. God damn it! You put it all together and it's perfect, and then you spot this little bit of dust in it, and you're like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Oh, I've taken it apart so many times, like trying to get a little piece of dust out. But I test them all along the way with like a tester. So before it goes in the Saber, I'm like every step of the way I'm testing, because sometimes you can have a dead LED or something going wrong. So it stinks to get to the very end and then realize like one of the RGBs doesn't have red in it and you're just screwed. So I just tested every step of the way on like every different color, and then just pray that when it goes in. I mean, I spend time like cleaning the shop before I'm going to do the final assembly because I don't want any dust around, any hair to be floating in the air and whatever. Because when it gets in there, I mean, it's just ugly, and you can notice it, and you have to disassemble and.
Yes, Gylo Ren, it definitely is.
It's a bit like me when I'm
swearing is absolutely an essential tool.
Absolutely.
It's a bit like me when I'm putting a screen protector onto a new phone. I mean, I've got 3 cats and a dog, so hair is just everywhere in my house, you know. And I'm like, I'll clean down the area, I'll hoover, you know, I'll get everything nice and tidy, and I'll wipe down the table, and I'll wipe down the phone, and I'll even get the little sticky bit that they give you, and I'll do that, and it looks perfect. And as soon as you put that fucking thing anywhere near your screen, a random piece of hair just comes in and goes, I'm going to sit right here. And you put it down, you're like, oh, come on. Like, it's the most annoying thing. So I've never built a blade, but I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a nice experience. Whenever anyone comes to me now, it's like I always say, you don't want me to make a blade, do you? And they're like, oh, I was going to get you to do the blade. I was going to go, Space Windu makes really good blades. Like, I know someone that makes really good blades. Honestly, I do. And like, oh, why can't you do it? And I'm like, well, I'm really busy. I might not be able to fit you in for a few months. But yeah, no.
Like, inevitably, when you're making a blade, you got to clear off a space like about so wide, right? Too. So it's like you need like a whole bit of your shop to be empty and.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of them things. My workshop space was literally dust, metal, all the things you don't want near making blades. You need a separate clean room for making blades in.
Yeah, look at that. The blade's even longer than the guitar.
Yeah. This is a small instrument.
There's a thing that I'm going to be doing shortly on my channel, and it's the truth about NeoPixel blades kind of thing. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm getting LGT NeoPixel blades, which I have in friggin' abundance. I could actually sell them back at this point. Blades I've got LGT, I've got ones from Ultimate Works, I've got blades from Saber Trio, KR Pixel blade, and then the last kind of couple really I'm really needing to get to do this is from Tony, really. It's from like the Dual Star and the Tri-Star. I would love a Quad Star and a Pentastar, but I mean that's getting into the realms of, if there's a power outage, I could light my whole frigging street up with a Pentastar blade
for about 2 minutes, and then it'll be dead.
I actually can show you guys a Pentastar.
Reinventing the retro saber just to have the battery back.
Is that a Pentastar blade there, Tony?
This is a Pentastar V2. I don't know if I showed this online before. I just finished this like a week ago, and I haven't made a video about it yet. But this has a smaller pentacore than the Pentastar V1, which I could see the LEDs quite easily, like the corn cobbing. They're so close to the surface. This one has a smaller pentacore, and I have the strips like overlapped long ways slightly, so that only the LEDs are kind of visible on that, and then wrapped in foam, a foam closed cell. Let's see how it looks.
Oh God, man!
With the white, like
I found your advertising slogan: Pentastar, finding friends across the Atlantic.
Tony, did you get a free set of Ray-Bans with that blade?
I really should have sunglasses on with this. I want it green.
I'm a Jedi. Red is the real color for any blade. Whoa!
What soundboard's that?
Don't go pointing that finger all around. The planet might explode of its own volition.
So this is like made up of the skinny strips, because the 50/50s would obviously be too many in here. But this is a big improvement over the V1, because it's like a lot harder to see the LEDs. Although when I focus on it, I could start to see them. But I also made this like 2 inches shorter than the first one. So this one's like 29 inches. So I'm hoping it's like better on my battery, if you know what I mean. Like I kind of cut out like 40 or 60 LEDs by just taking like 2 inches off.
What's the battery life on something on a 5-star?
That was like the second
That
time
was
I
it.
turned
It's done
on,
now.
I'm going to be playing with it. And, Gabe said
What
he's gonna
soundboard is that?
test it out for me. This is a Profi.
Oh, it's Profi.
And you know, because I have a Profi Saber here with a decent battery. This is a 21700. I do all my tests in here, and it'll work in the Graflex, but the sound quality, like the speaker starts you know, like kind of shaking because of the draw. But this Saber with the 21700 allows me to test it. So
if you keep on adding strips to it, you're going to end up to a point where the light is powerful enough to actually slice through.
Touch people and they'll burn them.
And how many lumens is that? How many candle power is that?
I actually didn't do the lux test on that one yet. The first Pentastar didn't have as high numbers on the lux meter as like a TriStar. I think because of the draw, like it wasn't producing, you know, the power of all those strips. But I'm actually hoping to get a bigger number of this Pentastar V2 because I have a little bit less LEDs in it than before, and I'm thinking like if I put my Saber in there on a full charge, maybe I get a little bit better number. But I still don't think it's going to be as high as the TriStar because the TriStar is like just really using like the potential of the Saber a lot better than the Pentastar, which is like overtaxing things. It's more of kind of like a novelty or like an experiment or like a prototype than something that like everybody will want, or you know, something. It's just kind of like a fun experiment.
That's going to be my 2023. That's going to be
with those ultra skinny NeoPixel, like those
1515 or 2020s.
I don't know what they're called, like chip on board ones.
Say again? Like what?
You know, the cob, the filament LEDs.
Oh,
You know, you've got those sort of filament NeoPixels now.
they do.
Yeah, I've seen them on advertised on Adafruit a couple of times.
Do you mean the silicone covered one, which is like is a 332 per meter? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, I think that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I use in what I call the Dual Star Omega. So it's like 2 strips. That's where I get the word dual from, but also like dueling because they're flexible. So I put them 2 strips like back to back, and each one has 264. So you end up with 512, and that's the one that I make that has like the most LEDs like ever in a blade. Only Frederick, who made the Profi, has made a blade with 528 LEDs. But they make it a little bit easier now, right, when they give the 332 strips. But the thing is, they aren't, let's say, they aren't as powerful as another type of LED because they are a smaller LED, almost like an SMD LED in there. They're just all bunched up right on top of each other, like SMD, 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 like a stack. So you kind of have a lot of LEDs there, but they're less powerful, and it can produce on your Saber. If your Saber has a weak battery, even though those LEDs are smaller, you have so many of 528 that your speaker can crackle if you don't have a powerful battery for that. Andrea Tomasini is here. What's going on? She says, hi, Anthony. Hi, everyone. What's going on? Oh, yeah, Gilo says swearing, and we read that one.
Yes, it is.
Jim Smith is here. What's going on, Jim? He says, every time I do something mechanical or electronic, if I bleed and part left over, the project is a success.
You must provide a blood offering for the machine gods are happy.
Blood, sweat, and tears. That's what it takes. Gilo says, only got my board to solder on, and then it's blade time. I'll get back to you on that one, lads.
Good luck.
Love
Yeah,
the fact that you
I'm going on to Amazon right now, and I'm just buying a frigging soldering iron and some flux and some good solder, and that's me. I'm gonna install something this week.
You also, if you're going down that route, you also want to get a bottle of isopropanol to neutralize the flux.
And I'll give you the tip that Irv Plechter gave me, which was the greatest tip. you know, and something that sounds obvious when you're like advanced, but you need it when you're fresh at it, is he says you have to get the soldering iron with the adjustable temperature setting. If you just get like a plug-in soldering iron, it's not quite good enough for like the ESD soldering that like we have to do with these boards. So like you want like the one where you could kind of turn a dial or you know, arrows up and down and choose a certain temperature that's like the lowest possible temperature necessary to melt the solder and get it on the electronics and like kind of not like an, you know, extreme heat.
I found you need at least 400. If it can't hit 400, then it's not doing the job that it needs to do. So that's the temperature that mine runs at, is 400.
I kind of find that every gun, like, so when the soldering iron goes bad on mine and I end up replacing the soldering iron alone, I have to reset the temperature either up or down. It's like every soldering iron has like a different sweet spot or something, it seems like to me.
I find it's the you need a variety of tips for the soldering irons. The NeoPixel, the thicker core wires we need for the NeoPixels need the big chunkier chisel tips, but the smaller wires for speakers just need like a standard narrow pointy tip.
I use the same soldering iron for everything. I use it for melting plastic, for soldering wires. I tell you, man, they make brilliant holes in plastic. When you need a hole through something, and because there's not one there, use the tip of a soldering iron. It just goes through excellent.
Gary. Don't breathe that in.
But
I'm
yeah,
getting all the tips and all the bad habits right now.
Yeah, seriously, I'll tell you, you'll be amazed at some of the things you can do with a soldering iron. They're pretty incredible. It's like if you've got, say you've got something that's got a grub screw in it and it's been thread locked. Put the soldering iron tip in the grub screw, heat the grub screw up, and it will undo it. Because it will melt the thread lock that's in it, and then you can get the grub screw out if you've got a grub screw that's just not undoing, and it saves you having to drill it then.
And then back out again, and like to go to the freezer and then hot, and then try to loosen something.
I've used my old soldering irons effectively to weld plastic together by just melting.
Like fusing together.
Yeah, exactly.
Very carefully melting plastic together at the seams, and then sort of folding it over with the tip so it sort of joins.
You can burn holes in paper when you're bored as well. Just like.
Now I like the smell of that. I like the smell of paper.
When you get angry, just.
I can't stand the smell of solder fumes. I have to have an extractor on at all times, or else.
I don't have any. The solder wire that I use, I don't have any fumes from it at all. So.
Every solder I've tried ends up giving me a migraine if I have to use it.
Yeah, no, I don't have any fumes from the stuff that. Where is it? 1 second, I'll grab hold of it.
So Friedley says, "Hi guys, is this now? Is this live? Yeah, we're live.
No, this is yesterday. This is.
That's the one I use.
Duracell.
Let me make your screen bigger so I can read that.
I think that's the same stuff that Ryan uses.
Oh yeah, the resin core Duratool. Okay, I'll try that I'm gonna get that from Amazon.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with fumes from it at all when I use it. It could be a temperature thing as well, as I say. I mean, I run my soldering iron at 400. I could go to 450, but it doesn't need to go that hot to melt this, and that's a fine temperature for what I use it at.
So yeah, I'm close.
It goes to about 350, but no, it goes to about 400. But for the most part, I just use it at 350. One thing I have been using quite a bit is PCB solder paste for soldering. That stuff melts at very low temperatures. And all you have to do is just connect two wires together, smear a bit of solder paste onto them, touch it with the tip of your soldering iron, and it melts instantly, and it forms a solder joint.
I think JB Kuma was telling me about that. He may have even sent me a link, and I ordered it. And I have to sometimes I order things people tell me about, and then it takes me a while to actually use it. So I have to get to using that stuff.
there's actually one tip I was given by someone that did a lot of soldering and went and learnt to do like electronics and stuff, and that's to get soldering wire with a silver content. The higher the silver content, the better the soldering wire, apparently. So
expensive stuff for solder.
Yeah, I mean that could be why you're getting fumes, though. It could be solder wire that's got silver in it that's causing the fumes, and this hasn't, from what I know. So it doesn't say it on it. So that could be why.
I believe it's cheaper from China, so it's probably the Chinese fume inside it.
Yeah, like the other thing I'm thinking of is fumes. Is your safety.
The other thing is some soldering wires will have like a flux content to them as well.
Yeah,
and that can cause fumes.
I think maybe that's why mine kind of puffs up when I burn.
I don't use any flux pretty much ever. The only time I ever have to use flux is when I'm doing batteries, if I'm making my own battery packs. Otherwise, I don't need it on the boards. The boards are always perfect. The solder goes onto them perfect.
Very easily.
Yeah, the only real problem I have with soldering to boards is soldering the thicker gauges of wires for NeoPixels. For some reason, just
some strips.
Put the temperature up. Put the temperature up on your soldering iron if it's not taken to thicker wire.
It takes forever to heat up with my soldering.
You need higher temp on a thicker wire.
As fast.
I was the complete opposite. Whenever I had the thinner gauge, I used to find it like when I was up at Ryan's and he was teaching me how to do everything. I would find that the thinner gauge would kind of jump around a little bit when you tried to kind of hold it down. It would almost kind of jump a lot. But the thicker gauge, especially when I was doing for the likes of the live and the negative, and I think we used quite a thick gauge for the data as well. I had no issues at all with those. But it was a slightly thinner gauge, like for the speakers, a slightly thinner gauge. Like that was like it was jumping around a little bit. I was like, almost help. But I mean,
I'll never have this jumping around thing.
Yeah, probably just my shaky hand with the caffeine content, you know. But no, you know what? The whole process was surprisingly simple and straightforward. Surprisingly easy. The thing for me was just really planning your routing for your wiring.
Yeah,
you know, and the orientation of your.
It's all like the plan.
Yeah, it's like is it SD side up, SD side down. What you're doing, like these ones need to come in here through, and it's just that's for me. That's the real headache. That's the
what board was you soldering?
Huh?
What board was you soldering?
Oh, it was the first thing I'd ever done. So I went with the one with the biggest pads. So the Golden Harvest V3.
Right, because like when me and Space got into this, everyone always used to say on the forums, "Don't do a CF, do a cheaper board first, do the Nano." Right now, I don't know about Anthony, but when I saw the Nano and the pads and the way you have the wires on top of wires on top of wires underneath, and how close the pads were, I was like, who's recommended to do a Nano as their first board? Yeah. It's horrendous. It's the worst board ever for a beginner to start on. The only reason it was better is because of how cheap it was. But other than that, it's like I would never recommend anyone to solder a Nano as their first board to learn to solder on. Honestly, for their install. It'd be like, no, go and do a Prism, go and do a CF, but definitely don't bloody do one of them things if it's the first time you've ever soldered, because you will just burn it out, no problem whatsoever.
Honestly, the Golden Harvest was a fantastic first board to solder on. The pads were gigantic. You've got lots of room to work. It's a very forgiving board as well. If you do make a little oopsie, you know, if you bridge something, because the pads are quite big, but they're quite close together. So if you bridge something, then you can just get a bit of flux on there and take it off, no problem at all. But it was very, very forgiving. I'm thinking about doing a Profi next. I've never done a Profi.
Profis, I actually really like Profis. I love the way that the pads are laid out on them.
It's nice that it's all around the edge.
Yeah, I think the only pads that you got to beware of with the Profi are the ones up the front near the little black chips. I don't know what they are, whether they're at top. Yeah. Those ones up there that the pixel wires need to go to. Next to the MOSFETs, those you got to be careful with the heat next to them, because you can damage those if you're not careful. But the rest of them, Yeah, they're brilliant. The solder takes to them perfectly every time I've done them as well. So
here's a question for you guys, right? Because I've seen this a lot. Obviously, on the Golden Harvest, I pre-tinned all my pads. There's quite a lot of people on forums and whatnot that do kind of self-installs. They don't pre-tin their profies. They just put the wires in and then...
Because some people like to go, like I think Jeremy mentioned it, he likes to go through hole.
yeah,
I was told, now I'm not saying anything bad about that because I don't have anything bad to say about Jeremy or anything, but I don't do that because I was told 10 or 15 years ago by Irv not to do that on his boards. And now I know we're kind of in so many generations later with these boards. Maybe it's okay now or something, but he told me not to do that, so I just don't do that. And I do pre-tin my pads to kind of lay the wire on.
I think why Irv was saying that was more because I think he just had people that were getting cold joints or they weren't pushing enough wire through. But if you look at circuit boards that are made for computers, motherboards, anything that's electronic,
true.
The wires go through and they're soldered on the other side. And it's the same with any pin connections on microchips, CPUs. They all push through and they're soldered on the other side. And that's basically what people are doing when they're pushing the wire through. But if you don't put enough wire through, then you got a chance of a cold joint wire not touching. Personally, I don't do it. I don't like the look of the little spiky tops to them when you do that. You can try and trim them down if you poke a little bit too much through, and it's not for me. Plus,
so with
wire
Profi,
routing,
you just lay them on the same way. Just lay them on top and just get the solder in there and just basically lay them on top of the pad rather than putting them through. Is that?
That's how I do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
just lay them on top. It's easier. Then you've got both sides of the pad, because that's the good thing about the Profi board is the pad is on both sides of the board on most of the pads that are on it. So you got two options for the same pad. Then one wire on top, one wire underneath. So it makes life a lot easier. But
also, if you've got a positive power, it's the same on both sides.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
sweet. Well, that sounds quite straightforward then.
No, as I say, they're really, really easy to solder. The solder just takes to them, no problem. Well, I say the solder takes to them, no problem. The solder I use takes to them, no problem anyway. So,
The
CFs are really easy to do as well. So there's another option.
Easy as well, yeah.
I will be doing a live
solder joints. I'll just show you my doctorate in my doctorate in sandboard soldering. Like custom crossguard lightsaber with FX Saber OS on board with like an Arduino based.
Nice.
That's some chunky wires.
There was a lot of wiring involved in this one.
Chunky. You could have gone down a size on them.
Yeah.
It would have squeezed in a little bit easier.
I still managed to get a crystal chamber in it though, so
yeah.
Pretty. Are those 7/8 on the side or 1-inch blade?
No, they're an inch. I took a trick out of Eastern. I think I'd like to think I came up with it by myself, but I'm pretty sure Eastern 57 has done it before me because he's done everything before me. You know the MHS Tonfa adapters.
Oh right.
I bought one MHS Tonfa handle and two hand grips and just attached them onto a regular MHS hilt. So
that's pretty cool. That's a great idea, actually.
It works as a crossguard, a 1-inch blade. So
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'll be doing no doubt when I get everything. I've got an old LGT layer sat empty there because the chassis in it originally, I may have dropped it and it just kind of shattered into a million bits. As Jeremy likes to say, don't drop your saber from 3 feet. So yeah, once I get everything in, I think Smuggler's Outpost does a chassis for it. So once I get everything, I'll probably do a little live install with like an overhead camera, and everyone can watch me royally fuck it up. So I'll let you all know when that's going to be at some point in the near future. You can all come along for a little giggle.
That's what I'm working on at the moment.
Oh,
Kylo Ren. I would tip it over, but everything's loose. There's no wiring or anything in it at the moment.
That's looking intense.
That is legit.
It's a Profi. They're these Sabers, believe it or not, there's no chassis for these Sabers for a Profi board to go in, which I find quite astonishing that no one's made a chassis for them. As you know, this is the Corbanth one, if I remember rightly.
Corbanth. I think Prof have got a chassis for that.
But the thing with the Profi is the fact that it's got the SD card with the micro USB on the same end of it. Now, with these hilts, the speaker sits in here in the chassis, and then you've got the pommel that goes in it, but none of it can be slid out because of all the wiring that goes up through here from here, and it goes up through here into here. There's no way to actually allow enough slack in it because of the battery being in this section. There's not enough slack to be able to get the chassis to actually come out far enough so you can actually access the reset buttons on the Profi board.
Oh shit.
Which are these tiny little buttons just up here. There's two of them, these two little silver bits that you can see. Well, they're the reset buttons on it. Now, I'm having to adapt a chassis that's designed basically for the Nano and the CFX and stuff. Obviously, they don't have the same problems with needing to access the USB so that you can put on different blade configurations and stuff. It's literally just popping a SD card in and out on those ones. So I'm having to adapt it.
Has anyone ever had the issue with Profi where obviously first time you put it in, you do yours a dig, and then it should, in theory, every time you put it in, recognise every time. My PC doesn't do that. I need to reflash the board every frigging time.
No one's PC does that.
And I don't know. I've been into the actual C disk and completely obliterated any remnants of Arduino on the whole frigging drive. I've put on a fresh install of Windows. Still does it. To this day, still does it.
What you got to look at, what I found with it, is you got to make sure you've got the right board on there for starters. If you try clicking on 1.5 and you're putting a 2.0 in or a 2.2, it just won't see it. But then if you look at the USB connections as well, I found whenever I plug one in there, it gives it a new USB number as well. So instead of being USB 3, I think I'm up to USB 50 or something ridiculous like that now. It's why does it keep giving them a new number every time I put a new board in it? It's stop it. Just use the same USB port. Why are we on USB 50? I haven't got that many USB ports on my computer. No.
I've done a Profi tutorial on my channel, a couple of them, right? And I actually made a point to go over this very friggin' phenomenon. So what I need to do is, I don't even need to do is a dig. I just need to reflash the board, hitting the two buttons, and then it'll do it through bootloader mode through Arduino. But it won't even come up in the COM port. It doesn't even say Profi board. It just comes up blank. But you hit upload, and it does it. And it's like, you should not be doing this. This is not how this works.
Yeah.
What is going on? It literally
welcome to the world of Windows.
Well, I've got the MacBook now. I've got a second-hand MacBook.
Does it actually work on Mac? Because it didn't work on Mac originally.
No, it works on Mac, yeah.
It works for me on Mac, yeah.
No, I was going to say, when Profi first come along, he didn't have it set to be run on Mac, did he?
Yeah, well, the newer Macs, I believe, someone told me whether it's true or not, I don't know, but 2018 Macs and onwards have the native communication package for it.
Oh, that's cool.
But mine's a 2014 Mac that's updated to like Catalina or something, which was like what 2016 or I don't know. I don't know Mac. I only bought it so that I could actually do Profi with it without having to fiddle around all the time with like a fucking pen and try and get those. I don't have nails. I'm a biter, so like I can't get the buttons. It's like a ballpoint pen and whatever, you know, tiny object I can grab, whether it's a knife or whatever it is, to try and get these buttons.
When I got this new board, right, this is the 2.2. When I got when these first come along, I was like, it hasn't got the buttons on it anymore. And then I looked and I'm like, oh, it has got the buttons on it still. What's going on? Why are they so small now? It's like I can barely see the bloody things, like tiny little dots.
I use a toothpick when I need to poke those.
Yeah, that's what I use.
The 3.7 board going to be ready for like mass availability? Because there's some tester ones out there, right? I think
soon.
Sabertooth's got one.
Megtooth,
sorry, Sabertooth. That's the whiskey talking. That's what that is. Yeah, Megtooth. He's got one, or he was trying.
I think there's a few people out there testing it.
It's the grand old silicon shortage, isn't it?
So it's on beta test at the moment, then I presume, isn't it?
Blue Mamba is here. Hello, Carter. Good of you to be here. Thanks so much,
little bro. That can I just say as well, Carter is like the guy to go to for anything Vader. Like, you want to know anything about Vader?
Oh, he knows everything about Vader.
Lightsaber. He's got them all, man. Like, he's like literally. And it's funny because we had like a total, I wouldn't say argument, but a heated debate about the difference between Rogue One and A New Hope with Vader's sabers. And I'm like, I'm sure it's the same hilt. And he's like, no, this part's different. And it's like a minuscule, tiny difference. And I'm like, yeah, but do you really want to go ahead and get a whole new hilt for that? And it's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay, dude, you're the Vader guy. You go and.
I want to hear what he has to say about the Kenobi show and what about because I was wondering about that, like which versions they have of the suit and which versions they have of the saber, because I know we got a lot of good shots, good close-ups of like the helmet and stuff like that, and I know those things change throughout the movie, so I wonder which ones are in Kenobi. Like, is it time? Is it like the proper suit for the proper time, or did they get something wrong in the production?
I don't know.
He's the guy to ask, man. He's all over it.
I'm glad we're on to Kenobi because I've been itching to talk about this. We jumped to the Bad Batch and then we went on to guitars and stuff and
I'm going to run
blades
to the bathroom and I'll be right back, right?
Okay.
Actually, I would like to talk about Kenobi, but I have an appointment fairly early tomorrow, so I might have to call it a day sometime soon.
Okay.
But,
that's cool.
Give it another 10 more minutes and see how far we get into Kenobi.
G. Friedley became a member. Thank you so much. Thanks for becoming a YouTube member. That's really awesome. Let's see if anyone's saying something about Kenobi here. Jim says, I think he made some prototype boards, new Profi boards, but I think he's waiting for the cost to come down for production. Oh, that must be what's going on, because otherwise the board's going to raise in price too much.
Yes, I remember back in the day when the Profi board was the cheap alternative to the CFX, not the thing that's more expensive.
Yeah. So Kenobi, like 6 episodes. For me, it didn't really get going properly until episodes 5 and 6. That's when I kind of became happy with it. Before that, I saw a lot of problems.
There were moments in the first 3 episodes that were good, but not as a whole.
Yeah. I saw some like canon breaking stuff, or at least stuff that kind of hurt my mind a little bit. And I also saw some stuff that I really liked, like in those first 4 episodes too, which was like things with Leia. I liked things that Leia said, and I liked things that people were saying that was like kind of callbacks to things they had said in other movies and stuff. But I think there could have been a little more push for character growth and like new character kind of traits and stuff, and we got a little of that, but they didn't push it enough for us to like learn more about it. Like I always kind of go back to the play called what's the Wizard of Oz play, Wicked. So it's a play about like what happens before the Wizard of Oz, and it's like those characters, but you get a brand new take on what those characters are like, but it doesn't hurt Wizard of Oz at all. It just is a different place in their lives. So you see like the Wicked Witch and what she was doing before they were battling her in the Wizard of Oz and stuff, and you got to see a different side of Glinda, the Good Witch, that you didn't know was there, but it made sense, and you got to even meet like the Bad Witch's father and stuff, like her family. It was just crazy. So that's what kind of thing I'm always hoping for, if they're going to stay in this time realm, because they keep playing in this sandbox of like, okay, it's like around the time of those other movies, whereas Star Wars is so vast and so big that we could literally be anywhere in the universe at any time. It's a long time ago and all that, but we're here.
So for me, it was characters. Third Sister, awful. Grand Inquisitor didn't look anything like the Grand Inquisitor should have looked like. I don't know what they were doing, but that fat head was not the Grand Inquisitor that he should have been tall and slim, like the Grand Inquisitor is in the Rebels. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, who cast this person? I mean, probably a good actor, but yeah, I didn't like the Third Sister, I didn't like the Grand Inquisitor. I thought Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, I thought they were brilliant. It gave you a side to them that we've never seen or known about. I thought they were brilliant, especially when they stand up to Third Sister when she goes to get Luke and they're fighting her.
I like how it was Aunt Beru's idea.
Yes, now we know what they would have to do and how they would defend their home from a Sand People attack.
Right.
We know what they learnt from when, like, young Anakin and stuff was there. And when obviously Anakin's mother was captured by Sand People, we kind of get where they've had to go to and to learn how to defend themselves, and that they've got an arms stash hidden away there and stuff. So I thought they was brilliant. I thought they'd done really good job of presenting those to us, and it gave us something that none of us have ever known about them, and how much they really cared for Luke as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of it. But yeah, come on, the Vader fight with Kenobi though. That's the that was wild. That for me showed me what a lot of people didn't realise was actually how powerful Kenobi was. Everyone thought that Vader was like, or Anakin was like this super strong, super powerful Jedi, and it was the all singing, all dancing, best thing ever. But when you saw Kenobi in that, you actually realised that Kenobi was easily as strong as the likes of Mace Windu when he needed to be. He was absolutely awesome. The fact that he held the weight of all of those rocks on top of him and then basically just threw them off like they was nothing, and then just got up and just went and kicked Vader's arse, basically. He's just like, really? You still think you can beat me? He was still teaching him lessons.
It was all smiles.
10 years on.
In those last couple of episodes,
it's
I got to. As a 90s kid, I went into Star Wars with the prequels as my first introduction to Star Wars, really.
Yeah.
And then I went through the standard cycle of, wait a minute, the prequels are shit, and hating them, to slowly admitting that, they're actually quite good in hindsight. And it was nice to see Hayden Christensen's face again. The
prequels to me, I never hated them. The prequels to me they're like a slow burn.
Yeah,
they're something that have basically got better with age. They've literally matured. The actual like the prequels have actually matured with age. They've got better with the years that have gone by, and you go back and you watch them now, and you're like, it's not. There's still stuff in them that I don't like that I hate the mushy stuff with Anakin and Padme. Oh man, I have to skip past it. I just can't bear watching any of that stuff. It's just like, really, it's like you couldn't have written it better than this. It's like, please no, skip. Get to the good bit. But yeah, it's a
prequel trilogy that works amazingly. What the prequel trilogy in a foreign language with English subtitles on? because all the issues you have with George Lucas's terrible dialogue.
I watched the Japanese one. It was awesome.
And your brain is tricked into thinking it's a foreign movie, and suddenly they pop. Like the visual effects and the special effects and the fights are amazing because they don't have the dialogue in the back.
I've never thought of doing that.
No, neither have I, to be honest.
Somebody told me that a couple years ago, and I went and watched like the Japanese one, and yeah, it was interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you one problem I had with Kenobi.
You don't understand, and turn the subtitles on, and they become a lot better.
And believe it or not, it isn't anything to do with Reva or Grand Inquisitor. That for me, that is what it is. It's, believe it or not, it's episode 4 when they meet on the Death Star, and Vader says to him, "When I left you." At no point have we seen Vader leave him. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan left Anakin. At the end of Kenobi, Kenobi left Vader. And it's like, that was a perfect opportunity to tie that in and have Vader running away or just retreating because he's been like, I genuinely thought because he'd been totally messed up. You know, I thought that's what was going to happen. And again, no, it wasn't. It was Kenobi walked away.
Yeah.
Does it say when I left you? I don't think he says when I left you, does he, in A New Hope?
He says when I left you.
He says when we last met. I don't think he ever says when I walked away or when I left you.
Yeah, he does.
I'm pretty certain he just says when we last met.
No. He said when I left you. When I left you, I was put the learner.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that part. Yeah,
I'm with Greenie. Yeah, I want to see a full anime. I want to see a full remake of the Clone Wars, but with with human Nathan. Absolutely, yeah. That I want that.
Greenie is here. Welcome, buddy. He just wanted the Clone Wars with Ewan and Hayden.
Yep,
that would have been great.
I actually thought we were gonna. This is how I thought it was gonna start off. Episode 1, I thought was going to be, or part 1 of Kenobi. I thought we were actually going to see the scene that we got in the 5th episode, where they're de-aged and they're younger and they're training. I kind of thought we were going to get almost like half an episode of that time period, where we were going to see, like, do you remember in the movies, you know, they're in the elevator. He says, "You remember when you fell into that nest of Gundar, Master?" You know, like one of these lines they could have taken and kind of done that and showed us the friendship, because that's what we were actually missing from the episode 1 through 3 movies, was to show their friendship. Because in episode 3, when Obi-Wan says to Anakin, you're my oldest friend, or you're my best friend. I forget how he puts it. When I think they're parting for the last time before Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and we never saw that. It didn't hit me right when he said that, because I never saw that side of the relationship. So I was really hoping that the show, wanting to tie in the end to the beginning, would kick off the show with a flashback of them really being friends, and show why they were great friends and why they had so much respect for each other.
I think the problem is, though, with episode 2, it's they was already at that point where Anakin was starting to get frustrated and starting to get a bit of a big head, where his ego was starting to take over. So the stage of them being best friends and the whole rescuing part of it and things from each other is that had already gone. That was when Anakin was younger. Probably when he was, I don't know, 14, 15, he probably rescued him from the pit of Gundarks or whatever it was. So that part of it had gone, and then you just don't see it from episode 2 onwards, do you?
I would argue that you see a lot of that in the Clone Wars, even if it's
right. Like that was the place it happened.
The one thing that I really didn't like about episode 3 when it came out was when they're rescuing the Chancellor. They have that very jokey tone in Obi-Wan, in their dialogue. They have that very sort of tone between them. And I thought that was such a weird break from where they left things off as Master and Padawan in episode 2.
Mm.
But then when you take the Clone Wars and add how their relationship worked out in the Clone Wars to before episode 3, then the episode 3 dialogue at the start sinks in perfectly with the way they were talking in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, well, that was deliberately designed by George Lucas to do that, though. So that's why it was done. This is the good thing about Dave Filoni and George Lucas when they was working together on the Clone Wars. They made it deliberately so that things would fit. Unlike Disney's way of doing things, where they just take something and go, "Oh, we'll just shove it in there and no one will notice." With when George was still in charge of things tended to slot together as they should have slotted together. And if there was something that wasn't quite right, you generally didn't spot it as a rule, and it didn't make that much of a consequence to things. But yes, that's probably why I prefer the cartoons to most of the of the live action stuff. I actually think the Clone Wars series are brilliant.
Yeah, they got close to the voices. Like the voices sound legit in the Clone Wars. Yeah. The lightsaber battles are pretty decent, and there's a lot of lightsaber action. Lots of Jedi are around.
Out obviously, aside of Mara Jade, Ahsoka Tano is my favourite Star Wars character. I think she's bloody
she came
brilliant.
Out of the Clone Wars, so that's impressive.
Yeah, exactly. She came from the Clone Wars, and everyone hated her when she was in the first two seasons of it.
That movie was terrible, though. That Clone Wars movie that launched the thing, she was awful in that. It was bad.
But she called Snips for a reason. That's why he nicknamed her Snips.
She was a little girl, so
But it's
she grew
as
up.
I say, so I watched them and watched the movie, then watched the first two seasons of it, and I'm like, nah, she's going to grow. She's going to turn into something special. They've got something planned for her, and I was right there. Season 3 come along, and then it was like, now you're going to see the Ahsoka Tano that he's been holding back for the last 2 seasons. And she turned into something crazy, and it's like, look at the fan base for her now. I would say Ahsoka Tano's fan base is probably nearly as big as it is for Luke Skywalker's.
Yeah, for sure.
Just wait until the show comes out.
I actually think that she's had so much character development. She's got a better character than what Luke Skywalker ever had, because so much time has now been spent on developing her character through the different seasons of different series that she's been in. I mean, she had 5 seasons of, well, it would have been 7 seasons of Clone Wars if Disney didn't cancel it. So you've had, 6 and a bit seasons of that. Then you've had her in Rebels as well, where they've developed some more. She's now getting her own series, plus Mandalorian she's been in.
Yeah, well, because her lifespan, I think, is longer. Her species can live longer, so I think they could actually...
no one's actually said that yet. See, I think that they could... If you look at Wookiees and how long Wookiees live for, look at Yoda's species, how long they live for, well, why can't Ahsoka Tano's species be a species that lives longer than human beings? So, if they wanted to, they could make it so that she doesn't age in the same way as well. And then that way, we get to keep Ahsoka Tano around for a lot longer.
I hate to mention in the room, but she's dead. She's part of the Jedi voices that you hear in episode 9, which indicates that.
Oh.
No, I know.
No, I won't have none of that. Oh, I think she was meditating.
She was calling from another side of the galaxy.
I think she was meditating.
She was making a cell phone call.
They didn't actually say she was dead. They didn't say that she was a ghost. They didn't say any of them were. Some of them had passed over. Some of them, you just don't know. They didn't actually say she was dead, though. And I don't think they will make her dead. She's a cash cow, right? She's a cash cow. They will not kill her off. And she'll only die when Dave Filoni says she's going to die as well. Which is why she hasn't been killed off by Disney, because what a lot of people also don't realise is Dave Filoni actually owns the rights to Ahsoka Tano.
Oh.
He's the one that created her. He says when she goes and when she doesn't. Disney don't get to decide that. Kathleen Kennedy doesn't get to decide that. It's down to Dave.
Sorry.
Just going back to what you were saying there about Ahsoka Tano's fan base being the same as, if not maybe nearly as big as Luke Skywalker's. I recently had the option, the choice to make of an installed KR Eco Hero Episode 6 Hill or a set of empty Thrawn Hunters. And I opted for the empty Thrawn Hunters because, it's just, I am, as so many people are, for whatever reason, drawn to that character. I love the Clone Wars. Rebels is my favorite piece of Star Wars.
I love the actress they got for the live action, Rosario Dawson. That was great.
Yeah, this is the really weird thing, right? I was going to get a top sleeve tattoo done on both arms. I was going to have Sith on one side, so it would have been Vader with Palpatine and Maul on one arm, and on the other arm, I was going to have Luke Skywalker, Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano. And at that time, Ahsoka Tano, they hadn't done any casting for the live version of the series, and I actually used Rosario Dawson as the person that I was going to use for
mapping out that artwork
picture, because I was going to they were going to actually be live action versions of those characters and not like cartoon versions of them. And I was basically like, she's the person that I would choose to play Ahsoka Tano if they ever did a live action one. So yes, I was quite chuffed when they actually said she was being cast for it. I was like, oh, weird. How random is that?
It's like she's a total cash cow. They're gonna rake in as much as they possibly can. I mean, I commissioned a sound font about a year ago, and the idea that I had for it was like a Sith or dark side version of Ahsoka Tano. That was kind of the direction I kind of wanted to go in, because if you can't tell, she's one of my favorite characters, and stuff that's, I didn't realize how popular it was going to be. I didn't realize at the time how, I knew she was popular as a character, but I didn't realize how loved she was.
Yeah.
Truly.
I mean, I think one of the things that done it for me was the fact that she's the first character that come along that actually used the reverse grip for fighting as well. And I was like, this is cool. They've brought a new character in and they've done something different. She's using a reverse hand technique for fighting with sabers, and then they gave her 2 sabers, and I was like, that's even better. That's just so cool. She's got an offhand and she uses both of them in a reverse grip, and even Anakin's trying to change her and stop her from using it, and she won't have none of it. She just carries on using the reverse grip. So it's like, yes,
well.
Oh yeah, brilliant. I mean, there's been some excellent scenes in the Clone Wars. I mean, her standing toe to toe against Grievous as well. It's like very few Jedi stood a chance against Grievous, and her as a Padawan stood there to help the younglings escape.
Anakin's
fighting
Padawan, so that's like extra special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the first time you seen her in The Mandalorian? And they weren't even like that episode. They weren't even like, they weren't beating around the bush. They were just like straight into it, and you've seen those white blades, and you're like,
is the first scene where we see her like through the smoke, like when she's kind of outside the lady's house that has the pole that has the spear.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I completely like my mum and dad are the ones that got me into Star Wars, but they're not
the
like,
noise as well. The noise that her sabers making,
the sound that those white sabers were making, such a nice buzz.
Oh, it was an awesome noise that their saber. I mean, I've not heard that saber sound before on anything. It was just like, wow, they just sound so cool.
The first time she ignites them on Rebels, it still sends, every time I see that bit, it still sends chills down my spine. Like the whole.
Yeah, it's like that's when. That is when she stands there to help them escape, and she takes on 2 Inquisitors like they're nothing and makes them look stupid. It's like, that's when Dave is saying, yeah, Ahsoka's no normal Jedi. She's no normal Force user. She's something special. She stood there and she just like batted them aside like they were nothing. It's like, yeah, she's cool, and then she goes toe to toe with Vader as well. It's just like, yeah, she's kick ass. Like, you know what I mean? Vader's meant to be the baddest, most awesome saberist and force user in the universe and whatever, and she just
did
goes
the mask thing first, like she sliced his mask first, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get the opposite side from Kenobi, don't you, in the last episode?
One of my favourite saber sound forms is the Sorcerer from Kyberphonic. It's because he's nailed it, you know, and he has that Mandalorian, those white lightsaber sounds, and
it's a really odd noise. It's got like a kind of a whistle to it at the same time.
Yeah,
they just
every saber I've got, the Sorcerer goes on. That goes on, yeah. It's awesome.
I'm kind of a Ahsoka nut as well. Have you checked out any of the videos on my YouTube channel?
I haven't seen the Ahsoka ones. No,
I've not seen.
Have you not seen the custom statue, quarter scale statue that I was working on?
I think so.
No.
You need to go on my YouTube channel.
Check it out.
Go find the custom Ahsoka statue I was working on.
All right, well, listen, guys, I'm going to actually have to end the show. Yeah. Thank you for doing this first SaberTalk UK. I think it turned out great. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Hang out. Yeah, thanks for having us, Tony.
Yeah, definitely. I love all you guys. That was so much fun to talk to you all. And, we're definitely going to do this again. We'll have another SaberTalk UK in a couple weeks. We'll try to figure out maybe a similar time so that we could have another successful show where everyone can watch. Thank you to everybody that was commenting. That was really great. Thanks for coming in here and talking to us. Brian says, "Been a pleasure listening to your beautiful babbling minds. I'm going to go do an American thing and watch baseball. Cheers." Thanks, Brian.
Enjoy, Brian.
It was great having you.
I'll have something interesting in you to show off.
What'd you say? You're gonna have something new next time?
Hopefully, it depends on how long
soon
it's going to be for the next one.
Gylo says, "When Rosario did the emitter to emitter pull ignition on screen, wow." Blues Bro says, "Later, y'all. Later." Adam Henshaw says, "Really enjoyed it, guys. Thanks so much. We really enjoyed it too. We had a great time." I would, if I didn't have somewhere to go, I would keep it going because I really want to keep talking about this. But we can continue talking about Mando, not Mando, Kenobi next time as well if we're not finished. Because on the rewatch, I haven't rewatched it yet. I'm sure I'll pick up other stuff too.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it again as well, just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's lines and stuff that kind of slip past me, especially on the spectacle of like the first watch, like waiting for something, and there might have been some subtleties I missed, so I'm gonna have to go back. Guy Lorenz says, "Cheers, guys. Good to chat. Till next time, definitely. We'll see you next time as well." Carter says, "Later, guys." Andrea, bye everyone. It's been a pleasure. Certainly has. Jim Smith, love from across the pond to the UK Saber family. Cheers. Cheers, Jim. Love you too. It's a lot of fun today. We'll do it again. If any of you guys are around on Monday night, it's going to be late for a lot of you, but I do a Mundo Monday show at about 10 o'clock. It's like Eastern Standard Time, right here on Space Windu channel, so you can check that out. In a couple weeks, we're going to do a TriStar giveaway on Civilized Sabers channel. We're almost up to 500 subscribers on Civilized Sabers YouTube channel. So if you're not familiar with that channel, go check it out. All you have to do is come to our live show on July 28th and just make a comment in the live show. And if you do that, you're entered to win a TriStar. So we're going to do the giveaway right on the show. We're going to pull a name from people who commented on July 28th on Civilized Sabers channel. So you definitely want to be there to get that.
Note to self: start another YouTube channel and pretend to be someone else.
You could have like different comments from different accounts for sure. Lee says, "In Switzerland, it's midnight. Got to go, but it's a pleasure. Maybe catch y'all later. Thank you so much for becoming a member, and it was great having you here tonight. Have a great night. Have a good sleep tonight."
I was going to say real quick, Tony, before we go. I don't know if it was yourself or anyone else, but I see was it yourself or Civilized Sabers became a member of my channel, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah, you know, I actually meant to become a member on the Space Windu account, and I was on the Civilized Sabers account, and I realized after, I'm like, I thought I was a member, and then I must have clicked it on the other account. That's so funny.
Well, thanks very much for that, dude. Much appreciated.
So I was thinking, I'm like, does he know it's me, because I meant to do it on Space Windu channel. 2.5 hour fan cut is awesome, says Rich Sangillo. I didn't know there was a Kenobi fan cut. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
check that out.
It's funny because I was actually going to do one, and then I ran out of time, and then someone else done one, and it's friggin' awesome. It's good. It's good.
No, we're not laughing.
Where can I watch that? Was that on YouTube or was it?
Yeah, there was a link to it. See if you search for it on YouTube. It was someone productions. You'll see the YouTube channel, and in the description there's a link to it. There's like hundreds of links on this Dropbox, or it's a Google Drive or something.
They probably keep getting shut down like one by one, and that's why there's so many.
I'll give you something to look out for this weekend.
All right, well, have a great weekend, guys, and we'll definitely be doing this again soon. Another Saber Talk UK is on the way, and I'm really glad we got. It was
great fun.
The first one, it was really cool.
It's great to catch up again.
Yeah, definitely, Gary.
It's great to meet you all, guys. Thanks for having us, Tony.
Definitely great meeting you. Thanks so much, Sam. And I will talk to you guys in the next one.
You're a Saber Talker. Listening to Saber Talkers makes me thirsty.